Hey guys, this is Craig. Hope life's treating you well. I just want to let you know this is a long interview. Make sure you listen to it. Nalle shared a ton of inspirational stuff on here, and he was incredibly kind to open up and talk about a lot of personal stuff that I think is going to be not only relevant to others, but just allow you to look at things from other people's standpoint and how they handle certain situations and what they did. It's one of the most fun interviews I've had. He's a great guy. That comes across really quickly in this interview. So listen to it or watch it, however you're consuming it, enjoy it. And thank you as always for all your support. Hey everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. And we have from far afield from Sweden, a guitar player, a really good guitar player, an R&B, great guitar player who's been here for a long time with Nalle Colt. He is the guitarist for Vintage Trouble. And a couple of quick announcements. I want to thank Denise Kovalevich for connecting us. And also make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com/subscribe to subscribe to the show. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and the bell. Let me tell you about Nalle. He's a really cool guy, great accent, and he's going to be a fun conversation. As I said, Nalle Colt, best known. This is like the best name ever, Nalle Colt. You know that. This is like...
Well, I'll tell you later, but it's pretty. Nalle in Sweden is not that great of a name. So
really?
I think it sounds cool here.
It sounds really cool, man. Well, actually, I looked on Wikipedia, and this is like a shortened name or something because there was another.
Yeah, it's not. It's my nickname.
Oh, okay, but it's a cool name, Nalle Colt.
It means like, little bear.
Little bit.
Little bear.
Oh, bear. Little bear. That's good.
Yeah.
Listen, wrong. That's a cool name, though. Nalle Colt.
Thanks, Mom.
It sounds like you could be like an actor. I'm Nalle Colt. You know, come to your audition. Lead guitarist and one of the songwriters in LA-based R&B band Vintage Trouble. These guys are like really a throwback. I mean, they do their own stuff, obviously, but I really haven't heard music R&B at this level since like the 70s and 80s, pretty much. You don't hear it too often. He's originally from Malmo in Sweden. As a child, he was a skateboarding prodigy, competing on a professional level. And after a major injury, he then switched over to playing guitar at 13. He originally played with Ty Taylor, who is the lead singer from Vintage Trouble, in the band Ghost Towns before they got together and formed Vintage Trouble with Rick Barry-O'Dill, who I just found out is from Tampa, right? And Richard Danielson in 2010. Since the band's which is their 10th anniversary now, since the band's formation, these guys are workers, man. They logged 3,000 shows. That's amazing, man. That's 300 shows a year. That means you're like home 10 days a year.
Well, literally almost. I mean, it's been some days we did in the first year, 2010. I think we, some nights we ended up doing like two or three shows a night.
Wow,
at different places.
Hey, man, but you guys hustle, and but look what you got. Look at the rewards. You opened for the Who, the Stones, AC/DC, which is brutal. That's got to be brutal opening for AC/DC, isn't it? Because I hear their fans. Yeah.
About it. Yeah.
I want to hear that. Lenny Kravitz and Bon Jovi, amongst others, they performed on one of my favorite shows, Later with Jules Holland. I love that show. It's the only show you can see like, my friend David Gilmour is coming out. It's like, and he's just they don't even make a big deal over him. It's like one of 3 or 4 acts on the show that.
Oh, and it's amazing the way they shoot that. I can tell you later on, maybe if we're going through it, but
yeah, like
getting on that show was something like, the Ty Taylor, he had performed on TV a lot, but the rest of us hadn't at that time very little experience on being on live TV. And that is, they retract 2 songs, but one of them is like straight up. Like they basically say, if you fuck up, sorry, you gotta go. And
wow.
Yeah, and it's nerve-wracking because it's you stand around some pretty mighty musicians when you do that show. So
yeah. What's he like? Is he a good guy, Jules, or you don't really talk to him much?
He was super sweet. We met him a few times actually because we ended up doing some festivals because he has a touring band too. So he's
okay.
He's all over the place. He's a crazy supportive of music, and the fact that we managed to get on there, basically have a self-released record at the time, no label support or anything, and he put us on there next to Katie Lang and Fleet Foxes and all these guys. It was pretty incredible.
How did you get on there? Just you knew somebody who knew I mean, I don't want your inside like.
No. I mean, you know, for a long time, we had a manager called Doc McGhee, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. And
Kiss's manager.
That boy knows some ways to make shit happen.
Yeah.
So we have him to thank for a lot of stuff in our career, for sure.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
So these guys are on Live with Jules Holland, Jimmy Kimmel Live. Did you play with Toshi?
I didn't play with him. I mean, I saw them on. We actually, first of all, I want to mention, because Jimmy Kimmel, that's the only show we have not been on.
Oh, I don't know where I got that from. Sorry about that.
All
right.
Because we were on Jay Leno 4 times. We were on David Letterman, Craig Ferguson, Conan O'Brien. So I think the only 2 shows that we didn't do was SNL and Jimmy Fallon.
Well, here you go, Jimmy Fallon and SNL. If you guys are listening, all your competitors were smart enough to pick these guys up. Will you be smart enough to pick them up?
Yeah.
That's all I can say about that.
I do know, you know, he's a monster player. So all those, you know, Jimmy Fallon's band, all these guys are incredible musicians.
Yeah, really good guys.
I saw we were playing in Australia. There's a Byron Bay Blues Festival, and the Roots were on there, came on, and like, what, I mean, when they're doing a full-on live show, it's like it's incredible.
Yeah.
So that was something really amazing to see.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
The band has 3 full-length albums and 2 EPs, and they just came out with a really cool single. And they actually just came out with 2 singles. One of them is called Outside In, which addresses the mental health issues of social distancing and isolation. And we'll talk about this later on, but the proceeds from the song benefit the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. And also they redid another single, which is really, really good. It's called Not All Right by Me. And it has to do with, you know, all of the, I think it's just continuing to bring the forefront of racism and, you know, a lot of the unfair treatment that people have here, that minorities tend to have, to the forefront. And I'm sure we'll talk about both of these. Dude, thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be on here.
Do you?
I'm a big fan of your show.
Thank you. It's always weird for me to hear that, to say the truth.
Yeah, no. I like when we spoke earlier. Like I said, I've been so familiar with your voice for so long, so it's weird to see your face now.
It's fun. You know, the other very cool thing that comes out of this show is because of the kind of conversations I have. When people come through town and I get to meet them, it's never like, oh, hello, how are you? It's always like you give each other a big hug. It's not like you're meeting for the first time. It's like you're old buddies. You just haven't seen each other in a few years. Yeah. And that to me is like the gift of this show that it gives me, that, you know, to have that just kind of connection, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I mean, I know you're a guitar player, and I think musicians in general, that's our habit, to be social and like, come on, man, we gotta hang out together, and it's just the way it works. So I'm always been since I was a little kid to be part of music, and it's a beautiful language, you know.
Yeah, man.
Connects people, so it's a great job to have.
Yeah, it totally is. A guy gave me a nice compliment the other day. He goes, his name is Joe West. He was on my show, but then he has a podcast and he invited me on. And he goes, I consider you like one of us. And I said, well, thank you, Joe. That's a very nice compliment. He's like a producer and engineer. It was just funny.
I listened to that podcast of you. What an incredible journey that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny. I was thinking the other day, listened to your show, and I was like, damn, people are doing a lot of stuff, man. I'm going, I got to go home and work. It's like, I was so impressed. That guy, Joe West, like,
Yeah.
my God, what a life story. I mean, he has a lot of stuff to his credit, man. That's really cool.
He's done a lot. But hey, man,
very impressive.
3,000 shows in 10 years. You guys aren't sitting around your asses. So let's talk about you.
Yeah.
You grew up in Sweden, and I guess it sounds like you were on your way to becoming a professional skateboarder. What happened, and how did your life ultimately intersect music and guitar?
Well, I was a professional skater. I mean, I had a silly young age, you know. There was skateboarding. This is a long time. I'm older than you guys think. So skateboarding have just showed up, you know, like, I mean, like the early on, you know. So I was a little kid. I think when I started skating, I was 8 or 9 years old.
Okay, that's really young.
And I was really small and limb, and I could just move around, and I learned how to do tricks, and it just came to me so fast. And, you know, skateboarding in Europe and especially Scandinavia became huge for instantly. Like, it became this thing, you know. I mean, we're a 4-season area, you know, so you could only really do it in the summertime, you know.
Sure.
And suddenly it just exploded. Everybody wanted to talk about skateboarding, and it became big with weekend shows at like Walmart's or something like that. You know, but over there, like, big stores would put it on the parking lot, and they would put up little ramps. And so suddenly I was traveling every weekend and to Denmark and around in Sweden doing shows at the weekend. So I left Saturday morning, and we would come home Sunday night and start school again. And I'd just be out, and it got so far, they start bringing in American professional skaters that I ended up touring with in Scandinavia.
So you said who is that? Like your mom and dad were taking you, or?
No, my big brother. He became my chaperone. You know, He was 4 years older than me at the time. So when we start getting busy, I was 11, 12. So yeah, he was 15, 16. You know, and so he loved it. He just, you know, we hanged out in hotel rooms, and I had to go to work, and he could just party.
That's pretty. So I was assuming you guys are probably really close, because that's like something that.
Yeah. I mean, he became like my dad. You know, I'm from the generation when all the parents got divorced. You know,
Yeah.
So I'm close to my dad now, but at the time, you know, I think I was 5, and
that's young.
They lived with my mom, you know, and both me and my brother. And so my brother became my dad, you know. Everything he did,
totally get
I
it.
wanted to do. He's the one who got a skateboard, and of course I wanted a skateboard, and I got a lot better than he was.
That's funny. Is he in Sweden?
Became my manager, basically.
Is he in Sweden, or is he here?
He's in Sweden. And he's a producer and a drummer, and a great professional drummer, and a music producer. He made a lot of records, and now he even runs some venues. Well, it's not that exciting right now because we're all closed down, but usually we as a band, Vintage Trouble, go and play at his venue every year in Sweden, my hometown.
That's cool, man. That's really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what happened with your career skateboarding, man?
Well, it was because I already said about the accident, and that is true, but it was a lot. I skated because it was so much fun. It's kind of like, I think you were talking about you playing guitar, like it's your meditation of getting away from everything.
Yeah.
For me, it was skateboarding. It was my life. You know, I slept rolling on a skateboard, you know. It was everything, especially when that age, 11 or 13, you know, like but Sunday became, you know, I was sponsored by all these stores, and it became, you know, I had to do it.
Yeah.
And suddenly it took away from my fun, and I got, you know, thrown into this world of like skateboarding started being very competitive. It was a lot of competitions. you know, it became so much, and I think I got overwhelmed. Suddenly, I felt it was too much of, like, for a little kid to fly around and being so busy, and I lost the fire for it, you know. I knew I was good, and I you know, but I felt like it just wasn't there anymore. And then obviously and then I had the accident, smashed my knee so bad that I couldn't really practice that much, and that's why I picked up the guitar, and suddenly the guitar became my escape thing, you know. It's all I could ever think about, you know. Suddenly it was like running home from school, and just like I was sitting in school and just think about, you know, I didn't know anything, like, but I just wanted to go home and make noise, you know. I instantly got, it was towards electric guitar, the sound of feedback and distortion, and so I never really was interested in acoustic guitars. It was all about the sound, you know.
How did you get who turned you on to guitar? Was your brother as well, or?
Yeah, my brother had started playing drums already. So, you know, and because he was kind of my dad, you know, I spent so much time with his friends, and they start playing music. They were 16, 17 at the time. And suddenly it was, you know, they wanted to be a rock band. And sure. I was just a tiny little kid running around there with all and I liked it a lot. You know, I liked, yeah, there was something with the electric sound. It was almost like, I don't know, sexual experience, or if it sounds weird, but it really,
no.
I remember just getting goosebumps from getting the feedback of my amp, you know, and stuff.
Yeah.
And I couldn't stop thinking about it. So, you know, I became one of those guys. I just ran home from school and sat for 8 hours and just tinkering on my guitar, you know, and listen to records.
And your mom was cool? Obviously she supported.
Well, yeah, I mean, kind of. I made a lot of noise. And, you know, we had an apartment that was facing my middle school. and we were up on the 6th floor. And I would tell all my classmates, like, at noon when it's lunchtime, I'm going to run home and just get on the schoolyard there, and I'm going to have a show. And I would put my amps on the balcony thing. And I even already then I started connecting amps together. I you know, start being on Jimi Hendrix. And I couldn't really play at all. I just made noise, you know, but I did my first show on the balcony there, like full on feedback and it was, I felt so good, you know. It was, yeah, so that was my first show.
That's man, you can just feel that the way you're communicating it, even like you know, what it meant to you. It's really cool to see that. I mean,
yeah. And the thing is, like, there's not very much music in my family again, except my grandmother. She was a concert piano player, and, you know, I grew up laying under her piano, just listening to her play, and it would just be like magic, you know, all these notes. I mean, she could really, really play, you know, classical, you know, especially on a grand piano. When you lay under something like it's mind-blowing, you know, the sound that comes out of it. And I used to love laying under her piano, just listening to it. So loud, you know. So, but obviously she wanted us to learn piano, and
sure.
And we started, both me and my brothers, taking lessons from her, but she was so strict, and it was so, like, you know, if you didn't do this correct, it had to be like this. If you did like this, she would slam you almost with a ruler on your hand, you know.
Oh my God.
And doing scales. It just became so boring. It was like, I can't.
Well, there's no way that's going to be fun for anybody.
No, you know, and I really wanted to. And because knowing that she was so incredible and what it would take to become that good, you know. But I was like, I can't do this, you know. And then guitar was the freedom, you know. And I didn't want to get a teacher, you know. My mom was like, if you're going to now do this, because I was afraid they're going to be like my grandma.
Oh, yeah. You imagine someone
I
coming.
was like, no, I just want to figure this out on my own. You know? Yeah, exactly. So it took me a long time. I remember calling my mom at work because I kind of figured out how to tune my guitar.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think I figured it out, you know, because, you know, I grew up at a time when there was no internet, nothing.
Yeah.
You know, a turntable with an album, and you had to try to figure out from a book, you know, how to tune a guitar. And my brother had some friends who play guitar, because I'm actually a lefty. I'm a full-blown lefty. I write with my left. I play soccer with my left foot. I skateboard lefty. You know, everything is lefty. So, and I picked up a guitar. I picked it up like this,
and
the opposite way.
Yeah.
But my brother's friends were like, if I'm going to show you some chords, because I was like, you got to show me, I need to know A chord.
Holy shit.
Like, flip the guitar around and I'll show you, because I don't know what you're fucking doing upside down. So
wow.
I had to flip it around, and so I'm a lefty that plays right hand. And I always wondered what it would be like if I would be a better rhythm player if I was actually playing like this. But it went so long in my guitar playing that I've been trying now, and I was like, oh my God, it's never gonna work.
So you've tried.
I'm not like Steve Vai, who can do it both ways.
Yeah, he's off the charts. But so you've tried to play lefty, but it just doesn't feel right.
Well, no, it felt right, but all my brother's friends who knew how to play guitar, they were like, if you flip it to a regular right-handed guitar, I can actually show you how to do it.
Okay, right.
So I was like, okay.
So you had no choice.
Yeah. So it just, because I was so rough at it anyway, I thought, like, it doesn't matter if it goes this way or that way. And they were explaining to me, you know, if you play regular, it's going to be a lot easier to find good guitars and stuff.
Oh, yeah, that's a huge one.
But it would have been really cool. I'm a huge fan of, I don't know if you know Doyle Bramwell Jr.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Monster guitar player. Yeah. And, you know, he plays upside down, like his strings are upside down.
Yeah.
And it just creates such a fucking awesome, different, I mean, all the chords are structured different. Everything's different, you know? It's amazing.
I saw him in concert here a few years ago. It was really weird watching him play. I've had a few guys on the show. If you want to go listen, like Matt Beck, he talked about that. And then there's another guy, he since passed, actually. He died, but Ronnie Drayton was another guy, real good funk player, R&B and funk player out of New York City. Both those guys are out of New York City. And they played some weird way, you know, when I say weird, the strings were backwards or something like that, because they were both, yeah.
Well, another one is Eric Gales. He's
he's a lefty.
Oh my God, that guy.
He's a monster, isn't he?
We did weefore this COVID thing. We're doing a blues cruise. You know, it got really popular with those cruise ships with music on it, and we did one of them with Eric Gales, and I got to see him play a bunch of times. It's like you just go, like, why the fuck am I even playing guitar? Like,
he's pretty
unreal, man. Such a fight, and what a sweet guy, you know. Incredible.
Very cool, man.
Yeah.
All right. So then what made you leave Sweden? Like, when did you come to the States? By the way, I'm going to ask you, do you know any of those guys that I had interviewed?
I saw your list, but no, I don't. And I'm pretty bad at all this whole Swedish music. I've been away for so long, so I know a few Swedes here in LA, but I'm pretty bad on knowing.
No worries. I was just, because there's such great talent there, man. I mean, I asked them, and they said that you guys have programs, unlike here in the States, like to encourage people to go into the arts, because they're smart enough to know, hey, if someone's in the arts and they're a teenager, they're not on the streets, you know, smoking and drinking. So let's get them involved in something.
Totally. Yeah. No, I mean, I remember starting off bands in my hometown, and the government would support a lot. You would get a rehearsal studio, and I mean, like, they would pay the rent for it. And
That's amazing, man.
Incredible. Yeah. Lots of support for sure. To answer your question about leaving Sweden, is it kind of tails end on the skateboarding a little bit, because when I was 17, almost 18, I was playing guitar a lot in Sweden, trying to get out as much as I could, but it was, I tried to figure out how to have a job at the time, and I had stopped skating, and there has been a long time in between where skateboarding had kind of start becoming unfashionable or whatever, and it kind of disappeared. And suddenly I was biking home one day, in Sweden, you're always on bicycles, no cars. It's like I don't know if any people have been in Amsterdam, but everybody's on the bicycles everywhere.
That's great.
Bicycles. And I biked next to a sports shop, and there were some kids sitting outside watching a skateboard video from America. It was Tony Hawk's Bones Brigade. I don't know if any skaters are on there, but the kids were looking at it, and they were. I was asking, "What are you guys watching? This is cool. Do you guys like skateboarding?" Yeah, like we love skateboarding. Like, really, you do? Like, can I get me one of your boards and I show you some tricks? And they couldn't believe it. Like, I was like, I used to be an old Swedish champion in skateboarding. Like, I didn't know you guys were all into it again, And they're like, wow. So when I was biking home that day, I thought, my God, I should just open a skateboard shop, and maybe that could be something cool. I don't want to make this a long story, but I ended up opening Nalle's skateboard shop in my hometown.
While you were still in school?
No, I was 18. I already quit school. I only went through high school, and that was it.
Okay, so you finished high school, and you opened up. That's really pretty cool.
Yeah. It was kind of because I was already playing a lot of music, and I had a bunch of bands, and I don't want to make this a long story, but I had some. I think I was almost 18, but I in one of the bands, the lead singer was working at a bank, and I called him up and I said, because he's an older guy, and I said, I have this idea to open a skate shop, and I used to be the Swedish champion in skateboarding. I think it could be really cool, because there is no real skate shop in all of Sweden,
In the whole of Sweden at the time.
It wasn't really. There were sports shops that were selling like crappy toy boards, but it was like not like a proper, like real, the real thing, like real equipment. And he said, write me a letter and explain what you want to do. And I did that night, and I went down the next day to him and gave him, and he called me later on that afternoon and said, the bank said approved a loan for you if you want to open a shop. And I was like, fuck it, let's do it. And I was so scared, I didn't know if it was going to be, maybe I could pay the rent of the store, because I found it was actually amazing. This is such a weird story, but there was an old porn shop in our hometown that went out of business, and they had a for rent sign on in the window, and I knocked on the window and asked them if I could rent the shop.
That's hilarious.
And it was super cheap, and I did, and I made it all happen in just like a few weeks.
So, all right, couple of questions. Number one, that's really entrepreneurial, man. That's very badass.
Yeah, no, it was cool.
That's really cool, man. I mean, that's just to have the not to worry, not that you weren't worried. I'm sure you had apprehensions, but just to say, fuck it, let me do this. That's really cool. I mean, that's really awesome.
Yeah, and trust me, I was really scared, and all the parents who were around at the time, was mostly my mom. Everybody thought I was completely insane, like they were like, okay, like how long did you sign for this shop contract? Like, my God, how is this going to go? But I was like, I don't know. It feels right, man. And anyway, I ended up doing it, and I didn't know. And the first day I opened, I remember biking from my little apartment a few blocks away and thinking like, oh my God, I'm going to open the shop today. I don't know what's going to happen, you know? And I was so nervous. And I think I was 18 at the time when the shop opened. And I come around the corner and it's a huge line outside. Huge.
Oh my
line.
God.
We're going like 150 people or something. For my little hometown, it was crazy, you know, like what the fuck? And I opened the store. I remember calling my friend in the store, like, you have to come down and help me. I'm freaking out. Like, I can't do this. And yeah, it just became a huge thing because, like I said, a real skate shop with a guy who was actually skating.
A champion, yeah.
Yeah, I knew what I was talking about, and I knew how to put boards together. You know, I would do everything there. Like they would buy them custom, get just a board, and I would put the wheels, everything together for them, you know, and mount it all together. And so parents loved it, you know, and suddenly my store became like what every kid wants for Christmas is a Nalle skateboard shop.
Oh my God,
I went on the news and like TV and a newspaper. There was no internet at the time, you know, so it just became the thing, you know. And what I wanted, this is a really long answer to your question.
No, it's cool.
To the States, but it was, it became so big for 2 years. This went on, and it became so big that, you know, for instance, in the wintertime, I realized, you know, no one can skate outside because I mean, where I am, we're in Sweden. It's snowing, it's cold and it sucks. So I ended up building an indoor skate park, like a professional, like with half pipes and the full-on thing called Mega City Skate Park. And this, it was a big deal. People came from all of Europe to skate there, you know. We had competitions there, and it was really fun. But suddenly I looked myself in the mirror, like, what is happening right now? Like suddenly, because guitar, all this time I was playing guitar, playing in bands, trying to do it. I had a cover band at the time, playing, you know, just, I mean, John Fogerty and whatever was big at the time. And suddenly we're Rick Springfield and shit like that, you know. And we were really popular. We play in the weekends and do really good. You know, we were young kids, but we kept really busy. And suddenly I'm going like, what has happened to me? Now I'm like a businessman, and I ended up having 2 indoor skate parks, and I had a mail order catalog so we were shipping out.
Dude, so you were like growing your Nalle skateboard empire here.
Yeah. I mean, I ended up reprinting my logo T-shirts. Maybe I can go get you one and show you one.
Yeah, man. I would love to see.
Hold on, I show you.
Yeah. This is a very cool story, man.
But yeah,
this is great.
Here's the original logo.
Dude, that is so freaking cool.
Yeah, so I ended up reprinting these because they were fun to have now. But yeah, that's the original phone number, the street.
That is,
you know, no internet, like I said, nothing at that time. So it was all word of mouth. And but like I said, yeah, I was just you know, suddenly I looked myself in the mirror, like I'm 19, almost 20 at the time. I'm a full-blown businessman. I run 2 indoor skate parks. I have bought, yeah, this is crazy, but I bought some other property and suddenly, like, what am I doing? This is not what I wanted to do. I wanted to play guitar. Like, this is not happening. And I started, you know, feeling really like I turned off about the whole thing. Like I lost the energy of it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I got to get out. And I had heard through a distant friend of mine who had come back from Los Angeles, and he had gone to a school called Musicians Institute, MI.
Okay.
And he was telling me about that. And I remember after he had told me that, I kept thinking about it in my head. I was like, I should just because of my skateboarding, I always wanted to go to Los Angeles anyway.
Sure,
When
that
I was a
makes
little
sense.
kid, I had cutouts in my diary of palm trees and Dogtown skateboarding, Venice Beach, and this would be a dream for me to go to Los Angeles and spend time there. And I just couldn't stop thinking about it. And suddenly I was like, fuck it, let's just drop it all. Just shut it down.
You didn't sell it or anything? You just literally shut it?
No, because it was so connected to me, and everything was around what I was doing. And, I was too young. I didn't want to sit around and spend time trying to figure out how to sell it. I was too young. I was just like, fuck it. It's just shut it down and get out of it. So I bought it. I applied for MI. Like I said, before internet, you had to mail in some cassette tape or whatever. And because I was playing I had started playing in bands at the time, but I knew obviously how to play guitar, but I didn't really know anything, because I got better and better, and I started joining more professional bands, and I realized I don't know anything, like theory, like when they're like, well, play a D over G, and I'm going like, okay, well, let me go home and think about that. I just didn't know like scales or like what is music theory. I could play, but it took a long to figure things out. And I had read about Musicians Institute in LA, where they were like saying like they could teach you really like ear training and theory and kind of get the basics of how music works. And I couldn't stop thinking about it. So I did it. I just dropped out, bought a ticket to LA, and never came home.
Wow. Okay. I got a bunch of questions here for you. Yeah. First of all, you're 19 or 20, you're running the most successful, maybe the only, but nevertheless, the most successful skateboard shop in Sweden. And you're playing lead guitar on the weekends. You must have been getting laid like it was going out of style, man. I can't imagine. You're in like the two most enviable for that age demographic. Like every woman must have been like, you must have had a line as long as 150 lined up to buy skateboards.
Yeah. Well, no, we had fun growing up, and like I said, I was in a small town, so it was a bit dangerous to be too out there.
Malmö's a small town? I thought that was a...
Yeah. I mean, it's the third largest town in Sweden, but that's not saying much. When I grew up, it was about 300,000.
Okay.
Yeah, but it probably doubled by now.
Gotcha.
It's a long time, but yeah, small town, small energy, and to be honest, I was so eager to be in a band and be like, join a gang, be in it, like write songs, and how do they do it? Like, I don't want to play covers, and I don't want to play some other people's songs. It's like, I want to do my own thing or do our own thing, and as much as the support in Sweden from government, and I felt like there was a lack of energy. When I was talking to friends about like, let's start a band, and they're always like, yeah, maybe. And no one really wanted it as much as I wanted it.
Yeah.
I thought, if I go to California, like where everybody's just hungry and want to jump on it and do things and, try it out and see what happens. And all the business you've been, I read your biography, and the only way to make shit happen is to do it, and worry about it later on.
Yeah.
And that's been pretty much my life story, that obviously sometimes I think back and go, maybe I should have thought about that a little more, but fuck it.
But the other question I wanted to ask you that's related to exactly what you said, when you said about the skateboard store, you said, man, it just felt right.
Yeah.
And when you exited, the same thing, you said it just felt right. It was time. I knew.
Yeah.
That to have that, what's the word? To be that in touch with yourself at that young an age is a pretty rare thing.
Uh, Maybe. I mean, it's something I've been trusting my whole life, you know. Like I said, I didn't really have parental oversight too much in my whole
Yeah.
life. And I mean, I think I moved out when I was 15. That was my first apartment, you know. Um, I had to take care of myself, and my instinct was number one, you know, like how to, you know, I probably met a lot of crazy friends when I was really young and got into some really bad habits. And that was the only thing that saved me was my, you know, just the intuition that something is not right or something is right, you know. And I still live pretty strongly by that. And I wish I did it more, you know, the older you get, you tend to go away from it because you know, you become safer or more, you know what I mean? Like,
Smarter.
yeah, but
Yeah, I understand.
it's trust your intuition, you know.
Yeah.
It's always universe always trying to tell you something, you know. And sometimes it takes a long time for it to happen, you know. Like it goes to time in like I said, when I opened my skate shop before that, I was kind of all over the place for a couple of years, where I was just a teenager, like not knowing really like what am I going to do? Like I'm, you know, doing bad, drinking too much and partying and not doing anything. And so you got to just, sometimes it takes a while to come to conclusions of what's going to happen. Like you with your podcast.
Yeah. But to have that at that young an age, that's a pretty, and to trust that's a pretty special gift, man, to be honest.
I was pretty scared of it.
No, but you did it. But because
yeah.
it felt right, you said, you know what? I'm scared. I have no idea what I'm doing, but you know what? This feels like it's really supposed to be. That's really cool, man. Honestly,
Thank
that
you.
is really fucking cool. Yeah. It's at that young of an age. Yeah. You know, in your 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever, you know, but at that young of an age, I think that's a gift, man. That's really cool. Good for you, man. That's really awesome. So you pack up shop and
Packed up shop, got rid of my apartment, said, I don't know when I'm coming home. I really don't know what's going on. I'm just going to go over there, take my chance.
Did you buy a one-way ticket?
Well, you can't, as a foreigner, you come in this country that usually
right.
You have to. But I came in with a student visa, so in any way, I actually could, because I had a return ticket, but I never used it.
That's funny.
Shit, like you can't do today, but
yeah,
don't tell Trump. But
hey, statute of limitations too late.
right? Yeah, and oh my God, I you know, ended up being an illegal immigrant here for a while before. Now I'm an American citizen, but
that's cool. That must be really stressful.
It's horrible.
That middle period where you're like, yeah.
Oh my God, it's so scary. And I tell you, I got really lucky. I won the green card lottery, so it's pretty insane. I think it was universe trying to tell me that I should stay here.
That you should stay here. Yeah. Wow, that's good.
I applied for that lottery and won it, and that's how I became an American citizen.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. So when so you come over here, you're studying at MI. What happens you first come to LA? Like there had to be like major culture shock.
And I tell you, I mean, it was so insane, because this is down the line now. I mean, me just coming there, I wanted to live in Venice.
Right.
I heard things. I didn't realize that it was, I don't know if you've been to LA, but Hollywood, Venice is very far apart. And I thought, cool, I could live in Venice and go to school, you know.
Oh, you thought it was like a bike ride away or something?
Yeah. I didn't realize it was like, you know, is it for that, bro?
It's far? Okay. I don't.
Yeah. So I ended up moving down. I was down in Venice for the first 3 weeks of and I, you know, at the time, Venice was like a war zone. It was, I wish I had money.
Welcome to America.
Yeah. Because it was, at the time, it was basically, you couldn't go out there after 8 p.m.
Oh my God.
I was so scared. Here I'm my little small town Swedish boy out in Venice, and there's just gangs everywhere, crazy drugs. And, you know, I lived in a little place right in the middle of Venice. I thought it would be really cool, and it was insane. You know?
How did you get to school every day?
Well, I hadn't started school yet because I came a
Okay.
month before. I thought like I should check LA. So I
Yeah.
hadn't started yet. And I started realizing like, I can't stay here.
Okay.
And I, again, this is before really emails and anything. And I, called home and like, I got to get out of here. Like, this is insane. For me, it was, I barely spoke English. I mean, they teach us English in school, but it was not that great, and
that has to be pretty scary when you're in the language.
Yeah, I was really scared.
Yeah,
and I didn't know what to
tough.
do and how to be and anything. And finally, through contacts, I did find a guy who's also Swedish, who had an apartment in Hollywood, and he was about to end school. He was a bass player who was going to MI Musicians Institute.
Not Bjorn Englund by any chance, is it?
No, my God, I can't. I feel terrible because I can't. It's the first time I thought of him in a long time. I can't even remember the name right now. Anyway, I got him on the phone and explained to him like, I'm in a fucking war zone. It's crazy. I got to get out of here. And I don't know anything. Like, I got to find an apartment in Hollywood. And he's like, all right, well, come over here and stay here for a few days and I'll show you the school and I show you.
Oh, that's great.
Thank God, so I ended up, I got all my suitcases and got over there scared as, I must have been 21 at the time.
And that's pretty overwhelming in a new country. Yeah. If you at least spoke the language, you could figure it out. But when you don't speak the language, that's gotta be scary.
Yeah. And again, this is, I still think back at the time when we're basically the only communication we ever had were phones, newspapers, and
not cell phones, but actually dial phones in your house with an answering machine. Yeah.
So all the stories you heard about LA, like, oh my God, you're going to Hollywood, like, don't stop for anyone, everybody's gonna rob you. I was like, but it wasn't that bad at all, Okay. And I had come to the school and I loved it. It was like a guitar factory. It was amazing. Like everybody's just walking around playing guitar, noodling on guitar. And he showed me around all the rooms and how it works and the classes. And I got an apartment in Hollywood and everything was great. And then the whole LA riot thing happened. Oh, this is 93. So suddenly I'm in 93, or is it earlier? I'm bad. Sorry, don't quote me on that. But it was when the LA riots with
Rodney King. Yeah.
Yeah. And suddenly the whole town is burning, and I've been here for 4 months, and the military is driving around on the streets. So it was definitely a interesting time to come to LA.
Did you ever second guess yourself?
Yeah, I was scared. I missed my friends. I wanted to go home. But I was like,
but you didn't.
Huh?
But you didn't. Why?
Yeah.
How come you didn't go home? You stayed. What
I stayed, but didn't get a car. I literally walked from my apartment, ended up being really close to the school. I literally just walked to school, walked right home, just practiced. And I remember having a neighbor upstairs who because I had amps like here and I was playing all the time, and he was like, can you just please stop for like 20 minutes? I'll buy you dinner, just stop I mean it was endless, noodling, and I got so excited that suddenly I finally could figure out like what it was all about, what music was all about,
D over G made sense.
Huh?
D over G made sense.
Yeah, exactly. and suddenly to learn, they start teaching ear training there. That was so valuable. And I can't tell people enough about ear training and to learn to hear intervals. And it took me a long time, and suddenly I got it, and it was, I could go home and really figure out songs. And Oh my God, it was so good. I couldn't get enough of it.
Were you starting to venture out during this time, or were you pretty much locked in your apartment all day?
Yeah,
When you weren't in
recluse,
school.
scared, really shy.
Yeah.
And everyone at school was really good, you know. I mean, you would walk around there and there'd be players that were like, what the fuck, man? I
Yeah.
can't even, I mean, there's this the time where Steve I was, you know, Paul, I know Paul Gilbert was one of the teachers there at the time. And all these monster shredders, you know, and I couldn't believe it, you know, how good people were. And so, yeah, no, I didn't venture out really at all, not until the fourth semester, because then I had to start knowing a lot of people at the school, a lot of great people. I met some Swedish people. I felt a little safer. I could, you know, communicate in my own language. And,
that makes sense.
and then at that time, there was a magazine in LA called The Recycler. I don't know if you ever heard about that.
It's just through guys on the show. Yeah. Through people on the show. Yeah.
That was where you would sell your equipment. And also there were ads for bands asking, you know, and it was, I remember being so scared because you know, there would be ads saying like, one, a rocker guitarist, no short-haired dweebs, or, you know, they would ask weird shit, you know, send mail photo or something to this PO box. It was crazy, you know, and I ended up I started going out on auditions and meeting people, and after a while it got easier, you know, I wasn't that nervous anymore, and I started playing with a bunch of bands left and right, just getting out there, you know.
Anybody that you went to school with that you're still friends with? Or that went on to become...
actually there is a guy that I played through the years with many times. His name is Scott Coogan. He's a drummer. He's an incredible drummer and a singer, actually. But he was not at the exact time I mean, but I would see him around there, and you know, he's already then, he was like a child prodigy drummer, you know.
Right.
And I would remember like checking him out, like one day if I could only play with that guy, you know. And I ended up doing that many years later, so I'm still in contact with him a lot.
That's cool.
Usually on the downtime we have a Beatles, Led Zeppelin band that we just go, you know, we do the B-side of Abbey Road and crazy stuff like that, and then he sings.
You and Scott. Yeah, okay, that's cool. That's very cool.
And but we were actually supposed to do it right before this whole Corona thing happened, and then we had to shut it down. But yeah, he's pretty much the only one I'm stay in touch with from that era.
Okay, so at what point in time did you sort of feel comfortable being here? Just not even playing or anything, just like, you know, just like where you could like where it was almost home.
I think to almost 3 years.
Yeah. That's a tough, that must have been I give you credit. That's gotta be a tough.
It was hard. I mean, I remember laying in bed thinking, I just want to go home. I miss my friends. I miss my neighborhoods. I miss where I know things. Because here, everything was, you know, tough.
You're in a cold place. It's not like you're in small town America. You're in a pretty, you know, fairly cold place.
Yeah.
Downtown Hollywood.
Yeah. No, it took a long time. But the more we start playing, I start feeling like something is happening, and suddenly it was fun, you know, and I realized here that people wanted to do it. And that was my main mission in life, you know. People want to be in bands. And that's what
you came for.
Yeah. And people want to work, you know, people want to get a rehearsal. And here, there's no support. You got to just figure out how to pay for it and do it, you know?
Yeah.
And I always liked that idea so I ended up.
Because you're a worker.
Yeah.
People that are lazy fucking hate that.
Yeah, and I liked it. You know, I like to figuring out, start a bank account and being like, if we do it this way, we save up the money, we can do something better and blah, blah, blah. And Yeah, all my bands were, I tried to do that as soon as I could, you know.
That's
And I had a
great.
band early on, a few years after the school, with a guy called Dennis Casey, who is now Floggy Molly's. He's there. I just met him. I haven't seen him in, God, 20 years or something. I just met him at a festival last year, and
That's
we couldn't
wild.
believe it. Yeah, we had a band, and we were working for real, called The Rise. It was the worst name ever, The Rise.
That's a cool name. It's like it's a really
Uh,
cool name.
and yeah, you know, it's kind of part grunge era. You know, Nirvana had showed up,
Mm-hmm.
and Alice in Chains, and it was kind of, it was a mix, but it was almost like an R&B singer. So I already had tendencies to what we're doing now, you know. And it was fun. We got out playing. We got to do some really cool stuff. We went. There's a very famous producer, engineer called Ron Nevison.
Uh-huh.
Worked with Led Zeppelin,
and you guys got to work with him.
Yeah, he took us to a place called Rumbo Studios here in LA, and it was magic. You know, I got to, the first time I ever been in a real recording studio. I was like, wow, we're gonna do this. But it was also, you know, facing reality of recording, of like
how expensive it is.
Well, not that, but you got to be good.
Yeah.
You got to, you know, start hearing yourself back and being like, oh shit, you know, it's time to figure out how to play guitar for real. Now I really knew it. I've been in theory land for a long time. Now it was almost like, okay, now I need to figure out how to really play, you know?
It's so cool that you had that like entrepreneurial spirit as a young person, and it carried you through there. That's probably why you stayed, you know, like you knew. I've talked, is Sweden like this? I've talked to, over the years, I've had loads of business contacts in different places. And for example, I talked to a guy in Germany, and we were going to do this project, and he goes, well, you know, if this doesn't work, I'm done. I'm like, what do you mean if it doesn't work, you're done? He goes, in Germany, I can't just like do a project and then it doesn't work and I go do something else. People don't accept that here. They're going to look at me as a failure. And I said, really? As you know, here in the States, that's probably one of the great things about this country. Like nobody gives a shit. You just open up next, you know, if you're you bake cookies and it doesn't work, well, great. You can be an auto mechanic the next day. Nobody, what was Sweden like? Was Sweden
very similar? That is true. And I think that's also a reason why I think, like I told you earlier, when I wanted to start bands and stuff in my hometown, everybody's like, yeah, I mean, it's not good enough. And a lot of comes from that, from feeling like we can't start a band and then it's really bad and then everybody's going to judge us for it. It is a lot.
Okay.
Because
Interesting.
I know, I mean, there's a slew of incredible musicians just in my hometown that are like, I mean, I'm talking like world-class players. But they have a little bit of that syndrome. They're so scared and like, yeah, you know, maybe I shouldn't do that.
But you didn't have that, which is
no. I'm the opposite.
Right.
I can't really play that great, but let's go. Let's just do it. You know.
Yeah.
Exactly. That is one of the big reasons I like to come here, because I felt the same way you just said. Like, here people, yeah, fuck it. If it's not that great, move on.
Now
people,
the downs
6 months, no one ever going to remember you did that anyway.
6 weeks, 6 days.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Well, and it's sometimes it carries to the extreme, because then at the same time, you know, there's no filter for that. So at the same time, you can have somebody who, like a Bernie Madoff character, who rips everybody off in a Ponzi scheme, and if he doesn't get convicted and he gets away with it, hey, he could open up something else too. But you know, you can't have different rules. It is the way it is. So it's but for the guys that are honest, which I think is most people, it is a real positive thing.
And that's why America is so attractive, you know, always been for all Europeans and people from all around the world.
Yeah.
That thing of like, just go. I mean, what are you waiting for? Like, I mean, and you can try it and you feel like you have the support of everyone around you here that, you know, it's an understanding that it might not be that great in the beginning. It's okay. And I love that, because I never really been you know, I was not some virtuoso guitar player or anything like that. So for me, it was like, I just want to try and see if it, you know, throw the shit at the wall and see if it sticks, you know?
Man, that's great. But the lack of worry that you had about it is great. Or like, I'm sure you were worried, but like that didn't ever, how afraid you were never impacted you just said, hey, of course I'm afraid. I'm doing something new. I would be afraid if I'm making skateboards here all over again. You know, everything has risk.
I mean, the only thing that opened my eyes here that it is, you know, there is no safety net. I mean, I grew up in a country where there's a lot of safety nets, and for some reason people don't take chances there, where you actually could do it. But here, and you know, I met for good 20 years, I spent, you know, on the brim of falling completely apart, you know, pawning off your amp to pay rent and then buy another amp and stay alive for 30 days and then selling that and buying something else to trying to just figure it out, you know. It's tough times to figure out, to get something going, you know. And I mean, my God, I played probably hundreds of bands and tried everything and trying to figure out what was the right mix of everything to work it out, you know.
Okay, so but then then you connected with Ty.
Yeah, I had a very similar band to Vintage Trouble. Yeah, called The Best of Simple. It was named after a Langston Hughes book. With a singer-songwriter here in town that is incredibly talented called Chris Pierce. He's more of a lot of acoustic guitar, and oh my God, I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries, man.
Sorry,
all good.
I wish I'd turn that off.
That's cool.
Sorry again.
It's all good, brother.
Yeah. Yeah, Chris Pierce, and we had a very, he had a lot of that soul energy that Ty has, and if you have a chance, check him out. He's an incredible singer. I mean, and a beautiful songwriter. And I met him. He had just come out of USC. And you know, very good singer. I think he was 19 at the time. At this time, I was probably 24, something like that, 24, 25. And he was 19, and this monster singer, full of energy. And I at the time, you know, it was all about Steve Ray Vaughan and Texas blues. It was my life, you know. Like,
have you always been a blues guy?
No. I mean, I grown up in Sweden. It was hard to get to any kind of music. I'm telling a friend, the first record I ever bought was, you had to go down to one of those little radio stores that was actually selling electrical equipment or whatever.
Okay.
And they had a bin with like vinyl records.
Really? Wow.
You know, and you, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how young I was at the time, but a little kid, and you would just buy any record that looked cool and on the cover. And so my first record was a Bonnie M record. I mean, yeah, it was some weird, you know, I guess Bonnie M ended up being almost like Milli Vanilli. There was like a black guy singing, but they ended up being, there was actually some weird Swiss producer that had made, it was all fake or whatever. Like, but it was funny. Huge in Scandinavia, and I had a mixed growing up, because I did early on. You know, I grew up in a time where suddenly Aha showed up and all these keyboard, you know, everything was keyboards. No one wanted to play guitar. And
so this is like late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Our mid 80s, early 80s, I guess.
Okay.
I mean, mid 80s. Yeah, you're right. Like, because I remember what happened. David Bowie's Let's Dance came out. And I think that was 1986. And
God, was that long ago already?
Yeah. And on there was a girl called China Girl.
Yeah.
And like at the end of that song, this guitar player came on and just like woofed everything away. Like, who the fuck's playing a guitar, you know? And you found out it was Steve Ray Vaughan.
Yeah.
And suddenly, like, Texas music, Texas blues, like, what is all this about, you know? And like, and you know, like I said, at that time it was so hard to get information and try to figure out. And it was a long road to find out more about it. And on the road to that, through talking to people, I got a hold of Rory Gallagher, Irish bluesman.
What?
Yeah.
I don't know why he doesn't come up. Everybody that knows him is like worships him, but I don't know why his name doesn't come up more often.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you listen to it now, it's a little bit of rough recordings and it was a little crazy, you know, but I loved it.
Incredible,
Everything
man.
about it. I mean, that was the tone I was telling you about, Goosebumps. So hearing that distorted, angry, like, fuck you guitar, you know. So I spent a lot of time with him. And so at the time when I had gone here, you went to MI and suddenly you're going through all these weird music styles of Paul Gilbert and shredding, Yngwie Malmsteen, Toto, Mr. X or whatever, Mr.
Racer
whatever.
X, yeah.
You know, there was all these super slick guitars. And I always been interested in sound. Sound is a big part of my guitar playing, you know, like. So I think I come from both worlds because I love, there's something that really gets to the core of me is blues guitar. Like
Texas, me too.
Texas guitar, like, you know, even now, like I know Gary Clark Jr., Doyle Bramhall Jr., like all these guys that, fuck, it's just, I feel it, you know, I love it. But I lived in LA at the time. I went to Baked Potato, listened to Michael Landau, and you know, you would go down and see him play, and he played his magic crazy chords, and you just go home and sit on your bed and play guitar for 8 hours after you play, you know, trying to figure out what he even did at all, you know. So yeah, when I met Chris Pierce, that Texas blues was it, and I even had bought a Vibratone, the guitar Leslie that Steve Ray Vaughan is using.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I found that in a pawn shop because nobody wanted them at the time, and it's great that it's that cold shot, you know, and couldn't stand the weather and all that. And he was up to playing, and he wanted to start a band, so we just jumped at it. We found a great drummer, actually a Texas guy, who could really hold down that old time like Texas shuffle kind of thing. He was great. I don't think he plays drums anymore. But we spent a lot of time. So we ended up putting a band together called The Best of Simple, played for 6 years together, worked really, really hard, did what I just said. We started a bank account. We were, you know, we tried to, you know, whatever we could do to sell something or do something. And we ended up getting a producer, a great friend of ours now, John Butcher, the Boston rocker.
Butcher? Yeah, I know John. Yeah. He was on the show here a long time ago.
Oh, cool. Really?
John Butcher, yeah, sure. From John Butcher Access, yeah, of course.
Yeah, man.
He's got a good story.
Yeah, what a fucking great guy. And he took us on, and, you know, I understand.
How'd you get a hold of him? He's on the other coast.
Yeah. I haven't talked to him in a long time, since that almost. Yeah. But he was so good to us and so supportive. And I understand now how much I must have frustrated him being such a bad guitar player. He's such an amazing guitar player. And here I am just like,
you probably weren't as bad as you're saying. I mean, you practiced all the time. You just came out of MI where you practice every night. So the problem is when you're coming out of a school like that, you're looking around at everybody.
Yeah.
Right. And how can you possibly think it's like if you go to the gym every day, you never think you're in shape.
Yeah.
Because but then you go to the mall, you're like, oh my God, I'm pretty good, you know? So it's just, you were in that close quarters where everybody's talent was so high. It was like, and you work hard. So obviously you're competitive,
Yeah.
So your frame of reference was always like looking up to get better, but I'm sure you're a lot better than you thought, man.
And it was a great time because Chris and I even ended up moving in together. We ended up renting a house. Got so lucky.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was amazing. And we just wrote music, you know. We had all these sessions where we had people come over, songwriting sessions, people come over to the house and with acoustic guitars, and we were mesmerized about the whole idea of making songs. And John Butcher was such a help to us. You know, he had a little 4-track, the little bigger Tascam at the time, and we were all scared we would go to his garage and we had to record, you know, and we were like, oh my God, we got to
Oh, he was out in LA. He was living there at the time.
Yeah, Silmar, a bit away. And we would drive out to his garage and work on, and, you know, he would be a good teacher, you know, it's great, you know, showing me so much stuff on guitar. And I actually even have
you have one of his Strats?
Telecaster, that is his.
That's so funny.
Yeah, this is Eleazar. I named him Eleazar, but I bought this from John Bush.
That's great, man.
This is a Nash Telecaster, man.
That's very cool. Yeah, people love those Nash Tellies.
Yeah, so what we ended up doing was, for me, it was like, we got to start playing live. We can, you know, you can end up rehearsing all the time, but we all know, I don't know if you've been playing live at all, but.
No, but I need to, and that's a huge difference.
Yeah, it's night and day.
Yeah.
You can sit and be amazing in your bedroom and all that, but once you actually get in front of people, it's all over.
Yeah, that's what everybody says.
Yeah, it's a whole nother thing, you know, and so I, you know, kept putting, we got to start doing shows. It's all about shows. So at the time, it was a great venue here in Hollywood called Molly Malone's. It's still here. Irish pub, and at the time it was super tiny, and they had a stage. It was so small. I remember putting my little vibratone on the back of the stage because it wouldn't even fit on the stage, you know. And we stopped playing there, and we ended up playing every Friday night.
So you got like a residency.
And we got a residency. They liked us so much, and it was so good. That experience of being like, we have to play on Friday, so we got to get our shit together.
Yeah.
You know? And they liked us so much, so we were booked every Friday, and we had to do two shows every night with like a 45-minute break.
So it was a busy night.
Yeah, and it just started being more and more full in there to the point where we would sell it out every Friday night, you know.
So that's great.
Yeah, it's great, and we made money, and it was okay, you know. And we got, because of the good energy of things happening, we got more excited and started making demos and more and more. And at the time, you couldn't really, you know, I mean, this is almost before CDs. It was CDs kind of around, but it was still like,
it was a lot of work to get demos made.
Yeah. To pay to get anything out. So he was playing live, trying to make some T-shirts and stickers or whatever to sell and do that. And while we were doing that, we noticed a lot of musicians start coming down every Friday night. So we must have done something right.
Yeah. And during this, hold on a sec. During this whole time when you were with the Best of Simple, did you also have a full-time job or a part-time job?
Yeah. I was delivery guy.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And that ended up being really resourceful too. I was a delivery guy for a graphical company that made big movie posters and movie ads in newspapers for all the big movie studios out here. And they needed, before emails again, so they needed deliveries. You had to drive down to LA Times to give them the new ad that was on print shaped, you know, it was printed. So I was in a truck all day, 8 hours a day delivering graphics.
So you're living literally the LA hustle, man. That was
totally tough, and try to make money. Read in the recycler, try to find cheap guitar equipment or selling your equipment, and do whatever it took to stay alive, you know.
How often were you in contact with your family back home in Sweden at the time?
Not much.
Yeah.
It was basically so expensive.
Yeah.
It was $20 to call home and say hello.
Yeah. I remember those
So
days.
it was pretty weird.
Yeah.
I mean, I thank God for the times we're in now. I'm so close to my family now because of FaceTime, and it's so easy,
It's amazing. I know it's really, yeah.
Yeah. So not much at all, really. I was the lost son. I just vanished, everybody was in my hometown, because I mean, obviously I made a lot of noise about myself when I was home in Malmo and everything. So suddenly I was just gone. I didn't come home. I could, like I told you, I was illegal here for a while, so I couldn't leave the country.
Oh, because you couldn't get back in, most likely. Yeah.
Oh.
Man, I really feel for anybody that goes through that. That has got to be a terrifying proposition, man. My wife, she wasn't illegal, but she was legal, and she was terrified when she came from England 30 years ago. Yeah. And so I understand. I can't imagine, if it's like illegal, how like scared shitless you must be to get through that.
Yeah. So it was a long time, and it's a long process, but in a way it was good, because I literally took all my time. It was basically working during the day, and then it's just about the band.
You seem pretty good with like patience, like like everybody wants something to happen sooner than it happens, myself included. I'm not immune to that, but you seem pretty good about, well, I get the sense from you that you were okay, like whenever it was supposed to happen, it would happen.
You got to work for it. I always knew that, no matter what you do, if you got to put in the time, you got to do it. You got to have, and for us, it was, if we get on stage and suddenly have a proper gig every week, we have to figure out new songs. Shit's got to happen. Like, I mean, we can't just stand there and play the same 5 songs day on day. I mean, we got to move on and like really work. And, it was great. It was such a great exercise, because we had to extend songs. We had to figure out how to kind of like do it on a whim, and just whatever is entertaining, to make it work. And it was it was like going to school all over again, And Chris Pierce, who was the front man and very much like Ty Taylor, great entertainer, big, just a big personality. And he was so good at it, and he had just finished USC music.
And he was a young kid too.
Yeah, but he was so full of life and such a great singer. So he ended up getting hired for a lot of like professional sessions, because he was already then, 19, 20.
Okay.
For being such a great singer,
That's pretty
everybody
amazing.
Kind of wanted to work with him, because it's so rare with people who truly can sing.
Yeah. It really is.
Some people can sing and do it okay, but then there's like Ty Taylor and guys like that who can really, really do it. And so, and that's how I ended up meeting Ty Taylor, because he had come from Jersey. He was in a already famous boy band. He's called Dakota Moon.
That's wild.
Yeah, they were like the new Boys to Men. It was five guys singing harmony.
Over on the East Coast.
Over on the East Coast. They got records, and they moved to LA because they're going to work with I can't remember the record company, but they had moved them over here. Dakota Moon, and they were a professional touring act and incredible singers. And Ty and a few of his friends apparently heard about us playing there Friday, so they start coming down every Friday. And Ty is also a very outspoken personality and happy and full of energy, and so we became great friends early on, and he was like, oh my God, I love Best of Simple, I ended up playing guitar for Dakota Moon for a short while. And
but it must have been weird though, because you had how did you guys connect? Because you had this great singer that you had no reason to not work with, and I'm sure Ty wasn't like trying to muscle in on your shit.
No, I mean, I was just saying I would love to work more. And so he was saying like, well, we're doing this tour and Dakota Moon needs a guitar player. Would you sit in and play? And
So,
I mean, I didn't really work out that great anyway, because at the time I was a massive Steve Ray Vaughan loud, a Fender Twin on super loud. And they were like a modern R&B Boys to Men band. So a Texas Steve Ray Vaughan guy wasn't really the guitar player they were looking for.
Yeah. But so how did you guys wind up connecting though?
Just music and friendship and hanging out. And he was he's a big party guy and loves to hang out and be social. And, we just started seeing him a lot. And he ended up, like I said, we did songwriting sessions at our house. Called the Licorice Merlot Sessions, and Ty.
But it was called the Licorice Merlots. So what you like?
Merlot.
Drink like Merlot wine and
we
licorice?
drank red wine, smoked shitload of pot, and
that's so funny. Oh, yeah, that's hilarious. I don't know how people do anything when they smoke pot, man. I'm pretty much rendered incapacitated.
Me too.
It's, I mean, honestly, like I could never have. I had a guy come on the show one day, and he had an 8 a.m. time slot in LA, and he goes, "Hey, do you mind if I smoke a joint before I do the interview?" And I said, "Man, I can't even manage my own life. Don't ask me to manage yours." I said, "Like whatever you want to do," and I was like impressed. Like it was a really good interview. And I don't know how people do that, man. I'm like rendered incapacitated.
Yeah, I mean, no, for some people, I really believe in I'm using CBD oils a lot, like for health reasons. I'll tell you later, but pot to me, I'm like you, I can't really do it very well. I'm becoming I can't play guitar, and I have some fun stories to tell you actually about situations happened, a few that really like made me go like, I can't do this. And,
go ahead, talk about one of them now.
Well, one of them, the biggest one that I can think of is.
And this is at the Licorice Merlot Sessions.
No, I mean, this time I'm going to tell you about now is very later on. It's in Vintage Trouble, and we've been on tour with Brian May.
Wow,
I can tell you all about that later. But we were in UK and actually part of Europe touring with Brian May, and this guy is so sweet to us and just hooking everything up. And I mean, it's a long story, but the last night he was so sweet. He had this huge, almost castle. He had the end of the tour party. And, I've been talking to Brian the whole tour or whatever. But never really having it just me and him sitting down and, and this is the last night of the tour. And we're so stoked. We've been on this, I can't believe it. We've just been touring with Brian May. And we're invited to this British castle where he has his after tour party with his crew and our crew. And we smoke a bunch of weed before we go to the party. And I get so high. And, and I'm supposed to meet with Brian May and just have a chat. And I can't talk. I just can't say a fucking word.
I feel you on that, man.
Oh my God, it was so horrible. And for years after, I just felt so bad because I never felt like I thanked him enough for him supporting us so amazingly on that tour. And it's really funny. Earlier this year, actually in 2020, we were in Japan on tour, and we did a show in Tokyo. And who shows up? Brian May.
Oh, so you got to thank him.
Yeah. And I told him about the whole thing, and I was
That's cool.
Yeah. So it was cool. So anyways,
well, he was probably just as high as you were, so it probably
no. He's not a big partier. I promise you that.
Oh, he's not. Okay. Yeah, but some people can smoke a lot of weed. They don't consider that partying.
No, I mean, you know, we done shows with Willie Nelson, and I mean, he's the prime example.
Oh my God, yeah.
My God, like, I mean, he could never do it sober.
Interesting.
I don't think he could play. I mean, he couldn't even function
Sober.
I mean,
Yeah.
what a great, super intelligent, gentle, amazing soul. And here I am. He just smokes pot all day long.
Every time I've had someone on the show and they have him, it's like weed always comes up it's like you can't have a conversation with Willie.
I mean, I'm kind of with you that I agree that it doesn't really get along with me, but I have friends that, you know,
no, I do too.
Songwriting sessions and stuff, like they definitely smoke pot and then they bring him to a great place.
Yeah.
It makes you really concentrated, and if you're not getting that anxiety and stuff, it's, you know, I'm not here supporting weed smoking or anything, but
yeah.
I think a lot of people, it's very beneficial.
I agree with you. It's different. I don't really care about it one way or another. It's whatever gets you through the day. You know, it's just like, I know me. It's like, you know, I couldn't ever have I don't know how guys got on interview. And I had another guy. This is before we did video. He was smoking weed and drinking Jack Daniels during the interview.
I mean, I'm like every guy here in America. I listen to Joe Rogan every now and then too. That podcast.
Yeah, he smokes weed apparently. That's what I hear.
Weed all the time on that. It's great.
Better, man, good for him. I would never take that mental place not to have a conversation with somebody and look remotely like I'm not like I'm intelligent. Yeah.
You'd be surprised now how many soccer moms are out there smoking weed or eating
I know.
high all the time. You know?
Yeah. Oh, I know. Hey, man, better to be smoking weed than on taking Xanax and shit like that. You know, for that, for sure, man. If you have anxiety, smoke a joint. You know, that's like a lot better for you. But anyway, sorry, man. I didn't mean to.
Yeah, but anyway, Licorice Merlot Sessions, and that's
I like
how
that.
I used to come up to that, and we start writing a lot of music together. But it would be a lot of years we would just be friends and occasional demo sessions and stuff. Ty ended up being part of that Rockstar. You remember that TV show where we're looking for a new lead singer? So
he was on that.
Yeah.
How did he do?
He did great. I mean, you can YouTube footage from it. I mean, it's amazing. You know, I think Dave Navarro was the judge or something. It was all these guys. And yeah, Ty was on there. He had a big mohawk at the time.
That's funny.
Great. And I remember talking to him about it. And I think he got third spot or something like that. He ended up getting voted out. But
that's great.
You know, obviously that was a very good thing. He would have never... For him being a lead singer in excess, I mean, he could be a lead singer for anyone and be incredible, but I don't think that would. I mean,
that was the prize. You get to be the lead singer for INXS.
Yeah, that would make a record with INXS.
Okay.
And you can't even remember the guy who ended up doing it. They just
right.
fell flat on the ground after. So Ty came out of that, and he had started a band called Ty Taylor Review.
Okay.
And he had some great songs and a few covers and things. And I joined him in for a few shows, and we had so much fun, and we started getting really close. You know, and I was like a hired guitar player. I was not like, and then we, you know, we were always talked on the phone, and we meet up every now and then. And, you know, because he already then was such a wanted guy for a lot of big producers doing demo sessions for songwriting, and they would always hire these singers that could come in and just wing it in the studio. And Ty always been one of those guys, you know, he was going anywhere and just kill it, you know. So he was doing a lot of that, and he called me every now and then, and it got me on those and playing guitar. And then it was a few years, and I was playing a lot of cover bands, and I had digged myself in a hole a little bit because I ended up being...
Best of Simple ended?
Best of Simple ended, yeah. Sadly. You know, we spent 6 years together. then it was that whole thing of, you know, we start meeting more and more producers, and they meeting Chris Pierce, and he's such an incredible singer, and they're going like, what are you doing with this honky ass fucking band? You know, you can do your shit on your own. And, you know, I was always scared of that. Like, I'm a guitar player, always looking for singers, you know?
Yeah.
That's how I connect. That's how I write songs. And there was always that fear, and it ended up happening. Chris wanted to go his own way. You know, the band got a little roughed around the feathers with everything that happened, and we split up. And sadly, you know, we moved apart. It was almost like a divorce. It was kind of sad.
Are you guys?
I see Chris all the time now, and he's a great friend. But
everything's cool. That's nice.
Yeah, but it took a long time. It was
sure
because we had to invest,
like a divorce.
Yeah, 6 years of our time, and we even lived together, and suddenly we were just from being together 15 hours a day to zero, you know.
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, I'm sure.
And he moved on and had a little bit of trying to pick some of our best of simple songs and kind of moving on his own career. And he's been doing great, and he's doing his own thing. And now he's more of a really found himself lately. The last 10 years been incredible. Like if you look up his history on YouTube and records, it's really good stuff.
Oh, that's cool. At least your guys are on good terms, man.
Yeah, but I ended up being kind of thrown out there again, you know, and it's been so good to be part of a band. Like I told you, I always wanted that. And suddenly I was out in this auditioning world again, and cover bands and sports bars, and it started getting to me, you know, like it started getting rough, you know. I was going like, I don't want to be in a sports bar. I don't want to do Rick Springfield songs, and I hate this, you know. And I'm not even that good at it, you know. Like I don't really sing that great backup. All these cover bands wanted like guitar players who sing great, and every now and then I did it, you know, and I ended up starting that band, like I told you, with that guy from MI, Scott Coogan.
Yeah.
We started a Led Zeppelin Beatles band, and that was great education for me. Learning, you know, there was another guitar player in that band called Fran Banish, who was also a fantastic Chicago blues guitarist. So talented, and he was part of the band too, and he knew a lot of that, and it was so educational for me to, you know, there's something to really learn Beatles songs and play all of that stuff. It's just so good for your own songwriting. And I mean, up till today, is there any better songwriter than the Beatles? Everybody's been trying to copy Beatles forever, you know.
Especially the percentage. You look at the percentage of songs they wrote that were good, that were great. I don't think anybody's ever done that.
Yeah, and just mind blowing the arrangements, the lyrics. They're like, oh my God, like incredible. So I got thrown in that world and playing in sports bars and stuff, and getting a lot of drinking, just kind of neggy world suddenly, you know, like it, and for a while it started being like almost like that with a skate shop for me. Like it's not bringing me the joy that it usually did. You know, I love guitar playing, that never got away, but that whole sports bar, too much drinking, cocaine.
Yeah.
It's just, I was like, I can't, if I can keep on doing it, it's going to kill me. And it's, you know, you're making a $50 or $100, because usually you would drink more at the bar because you were doing so much blow that you would lose it, you know, all the money that you made in the bar. You know, you come home with nothing. You know?
Oh my God. So
and just be like, nah.
Yeah.
So
how did you get out? How did you break that cycle?
Again, I went on a whole new thing. I love, my other kind of hobby is graphics and art, and stuff like that. And I've always been good with computers.
Mm-hmm.
So I start doing graphics and designing websites for people early on.
Interesting.
And I got really interested in it. I thought it was just so cool because this is early on the internet, you know, like this is.
Yeah, there wasn't like it is now. You can shake a tree and 10 web designers are going to fall off the leaves. Yeah.
It was very unusual at the time.
Yeah.
And I loved graphics. I loved everything about that I learned from being that delivery guy at that graphics company, because when we had downtime at that job, they would show me a lot of Photoshop and all of that stuff. So that suddenly, you know, I'm becoming more and more, and I ended up starting a business called Coke Web Design.
That's so funny.
Yep. And doing graphics for companies, and they were pretty good.
Were you still playing?
Huh?
Were you still playing?
I was still playing on the, you know,
on the weekends.
Playing, so it was keeping it up, but going like you need to find a real gig, you know, or you know, I maybe have to stop music, you know, like I can't. I still went to auditions. I did some crazy stuff. I'll tell you that. I was. Something that probably no one ever knows, but I actually played with Engelbert Humperdinck.
Did you really? You know what? I've had like 2 or 3 guys on the show that have played with him. That's quite funny. That is really funny. What was that like?
Well, he made, because of that band, The Best of Simple, we were working in a recording studio, and there was an engineer there that was really, we became really good friends. And he ended up making a record for Engelbert Humperdinck. And Engelbert were making a cover album, and he was doing like Every Breath You Take.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so bad.
Like Muzak, like stuff you hear in the fucking supermarket.
Terrible, right? And he was like, "Nalle, you want to make some money and play guitar or something?" I like, "Fuck yeah."
Yeah.
So, cool. So I went down and did whatever I could.
That's wild.
Tools, you know. And apparently, then I got a call that Engelbert Ding, I heard the record, of course, it was his record, and he was going on tour, and he was like, "Who's that rock and roll guitar player? I want him on the tour," you know. And they called me. I was like, I don't know if I, you know, because I seen his show. I mean, I knew about him, and I seen his shows, and it's like Frank Sinatra. It's like big jazz arrangements, and I can't do that, you know. Like I can't fucking. I mean, I went to MI, but I could read.
It's just not your thing.
Yeah. And, you know, so I said, no, and I can't do it. But I was like very honored that he had asked, and
yeah,
that was pretty cool. And then I was out playing with some other acts, you know, I did some small tours with, you know, just went to auditions and got some guys who had a record and they need a guitar player for a tour. I did a lot of that. And then I ended up getting a call from the MD from Engelbert Humperdinck. And they were like, "Well, I don't know who you are, but Engelbert keep asking about you, and he just fired his guitar player. We're on the road. Do you want to take over?" And at the time, you know, I was like, maybe it would be kind of cool. You know, he was on tour, and I could make some money, and it'd be kind of rad.
Dude, you got to pay the bills too, man. And if you
it was so. First of all, I mean, you're a guitar player, so you would understand. But I found out that he likes the silent stage, because he was 72 at the time. So he has no sound on stage. So you couldn't have an amp on stage.
What do you mean he has no sound on stage?
You had to play through a line 6 pedal.
Okay. And
it sounded so bad, you know. And there was no in-ears at that time. You had wedges still, and you would hear, it was so bad, right? And he would be, and they had sent me the tapes of what they were doing live. And I was like, holy fuck, man. Because they, like I said, it was all these like, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, big band, you know, with horn section and all these crazy arrangements. And I'm going like, I can't do that. Oh my God, I worked so hard because I was on a tour with another guy, and I remember sitting in a hotel room with all these notes laid out, just freaking out like, oh my God, like next Friday I'm flying out and I have to do this, you know?
How many dates did you have with him?
Well, I don't know. I think it was like 6 states or something like that.
Yeah.
And I fly out. It's pretty amazing. We do the first show in Laughlin.
That's
So
vague. That's like Nevada, right?
yeah, Laughlin. And it was an outdoor, huge outdoor stage. And it's a big band, and I get to meet the whole band. And these are great musicians, like professional session musicians. You know? And here I show up, and I have a note stand that is so big, trying with all my notes, trying to kind of hang on with dear life to these fucking arrangements. And I'd all set up, and we managed to do the sound check, and it was okay. And we're going to do the show, right? And it's outdoors, and it's by a river. I don't know if you ever been in Laughlin, but the outdoor casino there, and it's a river going next to it. And we're about to do the show. First song, as wind comes and take all my notes.
Oh my God.
Flows all over the stage. And into no order anymore. And the show had started. And Engelberg turns around and goes like, what the fuck is going on? And I'm running around trying to get papers and all my notes together.
Shit.
That show didn't go too well, I'll tell you that. And my savior was that at the end of the night, we would do Mustang Sally.
Okay.
And he wanted a big rock and roll guitar solo.
So that's you redeemed yourself.
I would step out and play Mustang Sally, and he loved it. And all his old women fans loved it. So that was so Engelberg was like, I love that fucking young rock and roll guy. And the rest of the band hated me because I train wrecked literally everything else except that solo.
Except the solo.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
So
and the thing is, though, that the thing that you thought was a detriment with that he didn't like any sound, that probably saved your ass because he didn't know what you were doing.
The sound guy was probably like, well, turn it into so that was a short career, but it's great. Today is kind of cool because at the time, when we were out, it was fun. Like he was a big partier. I used to sit at the hotel bars drinking.
Really? With
Engelbert Humperdinck.
Really?
72 years old, jet black hair, big chest hair, and
big chest hair. You should have taken a picture of him and say, Mom, here's what I'm doing in America.
It was great. I love it.
That's hilarious.
So sweet. And
he was a good guy. That's cool.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun, and it was great education for me. But I came home and then even more devastated, going like, can I really do this? Like, because what I really want is my own band, and doesn't seem to be happening right now. And so I get more and more to web design and doing that. And suddenly Ty calls me a day, and he was like, Corey, you won't believe what just happened. Like, what happened? And he was like, I was in a session with Eddie Kramer, Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And like, no way, what happened? Like, well, is this really this billionaire movie guy who owns Legendary Pictures, who started a rock band apparently, and he hired Eddie Kramer as a producer, and he just auditioned me and I got the job. He telling me that. Yeah. And I was like, wow, that's so amazing. You're going to work with Jimi Hendrix producer. And so we would talk a lot in the next few weeks, and he would tell me about the situation. And so it was this billionaire guy had put this band together because he suddenly wanted to be a rock musician.
Yeah. A lot of those guys do that.
Yeah, except it was like instead of golf, he wanted to play rock guitar.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. Yeah.
Yeah. So he had put this and, paid Ty a salary to be part of this band. And suddenly they had the other guitar player decided to leave that band. And Ty said, like, are you interested in joining that band? Or at least audition for it. And I was like, fuck yeah. Are you kidding me? I would love to. And I came down and I met that guy, Thomas Tully's his name. He still have that band, Ghost Towns, now. He's a really sweet guy and a huge music lover. He ended up doing that documentary called It Might Get Loud with Jimmy
Oh,
Page.
yeah, with Jimmy Page and Jack
Yeah.
White.
Which I thought was so cool.
That's interesting. Okay,
And
so that was the guy.
Yeah, Thomas Tull, Legendary Pictures. They ended up doing Batman movies and all of that. And he's a huge music lover. And I thought the fact of putting those three guys together and do what they did with that movie was, and
yeah, it was really cool.
Concept, you know, he had thought that out. I thought that was really, really
cool.
Definitely. So I went down and met him, and I heard that he was he's a huge Rolling Stones fan. So I brought my telly down and, you know, played some Keith Richards riffs, and and he was like, that guy, I want that guy. So I got the gig.
Do your research. Yeah, man, that helps.
Yeah. And, you know, I still want to thank Thomas Tull to this day, because he opened the door for me and Ty to spend amazing amount of time together and writing songs. Because for a good year, Thomas Tull paid for us to write songs and just do that for Ghost House.
Wow. So he had you guys on salary for a long time. That's great.
For like a year, and suddenly
what a good gig.
Yeah.
So web design went
I was like, fuck that shit. I'm out.
Yeah.
You know, I want to play rock guitar. And like suddenly I was writing songs with Ty Taylor, and like we're sitting in my tiny little, I had moved back to Venice at that time.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. So the smallest, I literally lived in a closet on the beach in Venice, but I wanted to be in Venice again. It got a lot better.
Okay.
So I lived in a place that literally was the bedroom, the kitchen, everything in one room.
Yeah.
The only other room was the toilet.
Yeah.
But I loved that place. And, you know, we had GarageBand.
Okay.
And we started working on songs. Just like, we got to make songs. And it was so much fun, and feeling like, hey, we're getting paid to sit there and do this. It's incredible, you know? And we would bring the songs down to Thomas and his band, and he would be like, I like that song, or I don't like that song. And like, okay, cool, we play that song. So we had so much fun, and I'm sure your listeners and the people who are watching this, you know, a lot of them are musicians, and you know, songwriting is like a muscle. You know, the more you exercise, the easier it gets.
Yeah, and the better you get.
Yeah, and well, I mean, that's up to everyone to think if it gets better.
Subjective, yeah.
Yeah, but it was incredible. You know, suddenly, like, this is about 12 years ago from now. And
okay, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. And the fact that we could just do that, and Thomas at the time lived in Calabasas. He was had a house, and he literally had rented a huge recording studio to just, I mean, it was incredible, you know, like this guy is just like, he's a billionaire and he just wants to play rock and roll music. It's incredible. And he was pretty good, you know, like we taught him like basic, like just that wang, wang chords, and he was good at it, you know, and he wanted to be part of it. So it was perfect for me. I want to be a lead guitarist, and I was like, great, I show you these chords and you just do that, and I play the other stuff. And
so now you got your rhythm guitar player. Yeah.
Yeah. And we were good, you know, ended up being a big band with 2 guitars, keyboards, 3 backup singers.
Holy crap.
And it was so exciting. Ty and I just kept more and more excited about writing songs, and it got better and better. And we wanted to play all the time. And suddenly my mind come in again, you know, with the bands. I was like, we got to start doing live shows like all the time. And suddenly we have a billionaire guy who runs a huge movie industry. He's like, I don't have time to do that. Like, we can do 1 show a month, maybe, if I have time, you know? And I was like, oh, come on, man. Like, we're getting so good, you know? Like, this is really start happening. And yeah, we ended up jumping off the ship, because I looked at Ty and I was like, there's a lot of good music coming out of us, dude. Like, why don't we take this and make it a real mobile unit, not this big complex with backup singers? And
yeah,
why don't we just make it a really small 4-piece unit, and just get at it. And, you know, it was a big step for us because it was like we got paid by Thomas to be in the band, you know, and
Yeah, that goes away.
Yeah, giving up all that and being back on the, you know, pawn shop again, moving, selling guitars. But we were like, this stuff is good, man. Like, because we ended up giving a lot of the songs to Ghost Sounds, of course, but a lot of it we had a good like 15 songs that were just sitting there and going like, shouldn't we just do this? And I ended up convincing Ty to do it. And, you know, we never looked back since. It was incredible, you know, and we got into this, like, let's find these other two guys, all we need is a bass player and a drummer, and keep it really skinny, you know, like we do it like a 50s act, like Chuck Berry or something, like super basic, and just go for it. And everything happened so fast, you know, like Ty had met Richard Danielson at a party, and it's some late night party, jam party. It's our drummer. And we were making, we had some few friends, and one of our friends was a teacher at UCLA who teaches a recording studio class. So there's a recording studio at UCLA. And we had one of the songs that we really wanted to try not just in GarageBand, like for real, and see some real musicians on it. And we got asked by that teacher guy, why don't you do it like we do it like a class? Like, you guys come down and I teach the class for all these kids how to do a recording session. And we take one of you guys' songs and do it.
Okay.
And we were like, we need a drummer. We had a bass player at the time. It was not Rick. And it's a German guy. And Ty was like, I met this guy who was he was jamming at a late night party, and he seemed so full of energy. And let's just call him and have him come down and do the song, you know? Cool. So I met Richard the first time at a recording session, and we didn't really speak much. We just started playing, and that was it. We were like, fuck, you great. Do you want to be in a band?
And that's how,
yeah.
And then that is how the band started.
Yeah. And then Rick Barrio Dill at the time was here in LA, but had basically packed up. He's a great bass player, you know, and he had and he's pretty good with studio engineering and all that stuff too. And he had decided to move to Nashville. That was right when Nashville started being really popular, and everybody was migrating to Nashville to be part of the scene.
Session scene, yeah.
Yeah, it's huge, you know. So he was literally...
He was done.
He was done. He was moving there. He had packed up a trailer and was going. I think he had even rented a place in Nashville. And he had played with Ty once and come up to my house once in Venice and played bass on a demo. Or like, that fucking guy is so good, you know? But he's moving, you know, and let's just call him anyway and see. And he was pretty much going down to his car to leave. And we asked him, like, do you want to be in a band? Like, we're going to do this, like, for real. And he was like, fuck yeah. And he canceled everything, canceled the apartment, told his girlfriend, sorry, we're not moving to Nashville, we're staying here.
Wild.
Yeah, that was pretty bold. I was very impressed with his moves. And yeah, and that's how we started.
How did you get hooked up with Doc McGhee? Because that guy was Kiss's manager, if I'm not mistaken. And you're a brand new band. So obviously you guys he must have had he saw a lot in you guys to take you on. Yeah,
that was really cool too. Because when we ended up as a band, same thing, 3 weeks into the band, because, you know, Ty and I already had so many songs written. So once we started rehearsing with the band, we already had songs. So, 3 weeks into this, we were ready to go out and play.
Yeah.
And you know me, I was like, yeah, we need to get out and play a lot now, make some fucking money and make this happen, And I lived in Venice, and Santa Monica is right next door to Venice. And in Santa Monica, there's a blues bar called Harvell's that I used to go to a lot. Real blues acts. I mean, great stuff, great music. And they used to have a Tuesday night there that they would have Kirk Fletcher. You know who it is?
Guitar player? Yeah, I had Kirk on here a long time ago. Yeah.
Kirk was doing Tuesday nights.
Great blues player.
Oh my! He's
great feel, man. Great feel.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you're 1965 when you hear him play. Like, incredible. Anyway, he was playing on Tuesday nights, and I called that owner and said, well, Tuesday's going to be available. Kirk is doing something else, and if you guys want to come down and do a show, and if I like it, you guys can play it every Tuesday. And I was like, cool. So that was our first show, our very, very first show. And what's cool is, on YouTube, if you YouTube Vintage Trouble gracefully, I think that's
cool.
It's actually our first show there.
So he liked you, obviously, and kept you on board.
He liked us and said, if you guys want Tuesdays, it's yours. And we picked up Tuesdays, and like the Best of Simple, it started being really popular. Like Tuesday nights, it was like, we started ending up selling it out. And it was a line around the block. People coming in for Tuesday night. A simple Tuesday night where people are usually working.
That's not a business.
It was amazing, and we had the songs enough to keep doing. We were doing 2 shows a night there too. And we ended up going, there was another place in Venice, was like an after hours club. So we would do the 2 shows at Harvell's, and then we would pack up the cars and go to Venice and play till like 8 a.m. And that's even a song from there called, we're doing a cover of With a Little Help from My Friends.
Yeah.
If you go YouTube that's from one of the shows. That's like 7 a.m. us playing, playing at an after hours club.
Let me ask you this. Did you ever have the little voice on your shoulder saying, man, don't get so excited because you did this last time and So how did you deal with that?
I just I kept pushing it down. I was like, it was exciting because like me, Rick Barriodale, he's also very like business minded and wanted to like this. And his girlfriend was like at the time was like a accountant. I think, she had a job. I mean, she knew a lot about that stuff. So we were like, let's just try to make this a business right away. And let's just, because we were all, I mean, we're not young guys, like, and
well, it's all relative.
Right, yeah.
But I get what you're saying. You'd already paid a bunch of.
We already done it, and even Rick was like, I could be a session player in Nashville, and if you're gonna do this, you got to do it, So it just, I had that keeping in my mind, like, my God, if I put in all this time and it may be not working out, it's scary. But you can't think of that. It's going to kill yourself, Like,
well, you have to figure out a way to manage it.
Yeah.
You have to figure out some way to, like almost for me, I almost like talk to myself and like, what evidence do you have to think this or to listen to that? It's a whole fucking battle sometimes, but you have to deal with it.
I think we managed that by just getting more work.
Great.
LA is a big city, and we started listening. If we start thinking, like, if we do Tuesday nights in Santa Monica, why can't we do Thursday nights in Hollywood and Sunday nights downtown?
To get all the coverage all over the place.
And suddenly we had 5 residencies a week.
Wow.
We were playing 5 nights a week. Different, a lot. And there were so many fans that started coming to every show.
That's so cool.
And they named themselves the Troublemakers. Our fans now around the world are called Troublemakers.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah. And it was just amazing. And we, I know this is a really long answer to your Doc McGhee question. And what happened was that 3 months into this, just working and working and working, we were like, we need to make a demo. you know, we got to, you know, people start asking about it everywhere, you know, they see this band and we're like cooking live, you know, it's just like people come to see the show, like, who are these fucking guys? Like, it was one of the shows were it's called Tar Pit Bar here in Hollywood. They didn't even, there's videos of that too on YouTube, by the way. There was not even a stage or a PA, nothing. We sat up in a corner on Sundays there and played, and the first 2 shows Ty sang through one of my guitar amps.
Oh my God.
But, yeah, and it was a 5-star restaurant, really, like, you know, tablecloths, really nice. And on Sunday nights, they suddenly wanted some entertainment, and we got the gig. I'm not sure how that happened, but we sat up in the corner and played, and it was, people started dancing on the tables, and it just went crazy. And it was like, fucking hey, man, it's cooking. So we start doing those shows.
Are you playing the same music that you play now?
Basically.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
First album, Bomb Shelter Sessions.
Okay.
And a lot of other, I mean, we learned to improvise at this spot and do a lot of different things, you know. But after 3 months, we were saying, like, we got to make
demos.
We need to make a demo. And a dear friend of mine that I had another project with is Eric Kretz from Stone Temple Pilots, the drummer. And he has a recording studio called the Bomb Shelter Studios. He sold it by now, but he had it, and it was amazing, beautiful studio, like a real big fancy studio. And I called him and said, I had this new band, and do you think we could just set up and we just track it, and we just want to hear how it sounds, and maybe we can use it as a demo for something. He's like, fuck yeah, just pay the engineers there, give them some pizza and beer, and do it. You know, you got 2 days. Cool. So we went down and did it, and we listened back to it, and we're like, we did all that time literally singing while we're playing. I mean, it's live. It was just right there. And we listened back to it, and we're like, wow, this is pretty good.
So
and that was Bomb Shelter Sessions.
Yeah.
That is the album. So we printed it and said, fuck it, let's just make a CD out of this. And, you know, at the time, I don't know, those CD, you would send it online into something, they send back 500 CDs.
Yeah, sure.
And, you know, and you would package it yourself, you know, whatever. And we had shows.
So you had merch to sell now.
Yeah, we had CDs to sell, made some money, did pretty good, moving actually quite a lot of them.
Yeah.
And one night we were playing at that little 5-star restaurant, and there's a guy coming up to me after the show, and he's like, that was incredible. Could I have a CD? I work with Gene Simmons, and I would love to give him your music. And I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah, here's the CD. Take it. He actually bought it from us, and it was cool. And he asked for some phone numbers, and Ty ended up giving his number. And 2 days later, we get a call from Gene Simmons. He's like, hey, this is Gene Simmons. and he was like, I like you guys. I hate the name. He hated the name Vintage Trouble. But I like you guys a lot. Come up to my house. I want to talk. We were like, fucking hey.
That whole thing was pretty weird though at the same time.
Yeah. So we come up to his house. I don't know if you ever seen the Family Jewels or whatever. But
that's not a house. That's like.
It starts when he stands on the stairs to his house. Like
this.
When we drove into his house, he stood just like that.
That's his legit house. Oh my God.
Yeah. But we know him now, and he's a dear friend and a sweet guy. But he did the whole spiel for us. Brought us into his house. Said, I like you guys a lot. He said, fucking band name sucks. I think, and he trying to give us this whole spiel of what we needed to do. And he was like,
I'm surprised that's a pretty cool name.
Yeah. But it's fun. He ended up apologizing for it 2 years later.
Yeah. He
came with his wife to a show, and he said, I just want to say I apologize for saying the band name was bad, because he's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's really cool. Vintage Trouble. It's a perfect name for like an R&B.
Yeah.
I mean,
and you know, it's part of that song Blues Hand-Me-Down. The song Blues Hand-Me-Down came before the band name, because Ty was writing the lyrics, and it's about his dad. His dad passed away a long time ago, and he was really troubled, vintage trouble.
Oh, that's cool. That makes it even a better name.
Yeah, and in the lyrics, Ty is singing, "I come from vintage trouble. Look out for."
Oh, very cool.
And we were like, Ty called me one day. I was like, "I got the perfect band name, Vintage Trouble." And we're like, "Yeah, baby."
Boom. Yeah, that's a really good name.
So yeah, we were sitting at his house, and he's telling all this crazy shit. He's like, he pointed out, I can't remember one of us, and said, like, "You need to start dating some famous girl. You know, that always gets a lot of attention." We're like, "Oh God." And he was telling Ty, like, "You're smiling too much. You need to look cooler." And like, okay, cool.
You got to kind of expect to hear that stuff from a guy.
Yeah. And then he was saying, I want to sign you guys to Simmons Records. I'm not going to pay you guys a dime, but you guys can be on Simmons Records. And we're like, cool. You're probably not going to do that. And so we went in for a few hours. Wow,
that's an irresistible offer. How could anybody turn that down?
But it was cool. We were at Gene Simmons' house.
Yeah,
he was playing.
Experience is cool.
You know, he had an original demo of Van Halen. He was like, "I'm the one who found Van Halen first, and here's the original demo." And it was really entertaining to be at his house.
I'm sure.
So we left that house, and we're like, "Yeah, we're not doing that." Cool.
Yeah.
Next.
Hey, you have a ton of potential. Come on board with me. I'll pay you nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
He needs to go to sales school to find out what a good offer is. That's not it.
Yeah. But contrary to what Doc McGhee usually, when he tells this story, because that's how Doc McGhee found out about it, because he found out about from Gene Simmons' TV producer, because the guy who got the CD from us from that restaurant was Gene Simmons, the guy who produced the TV show Family.
Okay. So then he gave it to Gene, liked it, and that was the filter, and then he gave it to Doc after Gene approved it, probably.
Most probably, yes.
Yeah, that sounds like it makes
Doc
sense.
came down and saw the show, and he was like, "Wow, these guys are pretty fucking." I mean, you know, Doc always says, like, "I never really look at the band; I look at the audience. That's how I decide if a band is good."
That's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's really.
Signed Motley Crue the same way. He said he was like, if the audience is reacting to it, something is right, you know.
Well, that's who's going to buy the record, so that makes a hell of a lot of sense, man.
And he was right, and so a couple of days later, we get a call from Doc McGhee. He was like, you know, "I want to take you guys on." And we're like, holy shit, Doc McGhee, the legendary fucking gangster of all time, wants to work with us, you know? So we went up to his office, and it's been a roller coaster since that. And that was, I think, early 2011.
I'm assuming he offered to pay you more than zero.
No, he didn't offer anyone. He's a manager. He's like, "I ain't gonna pay you shit, but I can put you guys."
But he wasn't going to support you joining a record company to make zero.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
He was like, "What do you guys want to do?" It was his first question, because he was like, "I listened to the CD, the Bombshell Sessions. I like it a lot. I think you guys got a great show. What do you guys want to do?" And we were like, "Go to Europe. Go to UK, go somewhere else, you know, be an American band in somewhere else."
Yeah, but where did you get that idea from?
When we did Bombshell Sessions, there was we had brought down, when we had some downtime in the studio, we were watching this documentary about Stax Records, how they had brought Otis Redding and all these guys to UK. And with the whole Stax band and the energy of, you know, it was just fucking old rhythm and blues and a bunch of white Europeans dancing to it. Yeah. But it had, like, we kept looking at that, and that's exactly what we wanted to do, you know, like that energy. I mean, our first music video we did. It's a song called Nancy Lee. It's about Ty's mom. We did that all on iPhones. We did ourselves.
That's
and
awesome.
we did it like it's if you watch it on YouTube, it's basically just a bunch of people. We hired a bunch of people, or friends of ours, just come down and dance, and we would just stand on the stage and play the song, and that would be it. You know, we wanted to look like that Stax movie.
Wow, that's clever, man.
Yeah,
So,
we won an iPhone competition for that video. That was the first iPhones we could film videos on.
so that was a really, so you wanted to be, you knew that there was value in being the out of town expert that you could not manufacture here. And because what you were doing was really for people in Europe, wow, they're going to really vibe on it, where people in the States may like it, may not, but it's going to be a more lukewarm, whereas you have a bigger hill to climb here in the States. That's really cool, man.
Yeah, and I think Doc knew that too. I mean, he's a very seasoned guy. You know, he's been around for a long time, and I'm sure he had that vibe too. And he had connections. He had like, I got some guys over there, and at the time, I never heard of Jules Holland Show. I mean, this is 2011. I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
And he had a friend, Doc McGhee had some friend or some other guy who had given the CD to Jules Holland.
Holy crap.
Yeah. So we were going to go to UK now, where suddenly we're at McGhee Entertainment, Doc McGhee's management company. And, you know, we're at his office every 2 days, you know, so exciting. And this big plan, suddenly, like, everything that I ever dreamt of, like, it's happening. Like, we're moving, you know, there's real people talking about our band, you know, that we're going to do shit. And Doc was like, I want to set up a press conference in London. I'm going to use my connections, like rock magazines or whatever. I'm going to call them as I found this new band that's a mix between Otis Redding and Led Zeppelin. And I'm just going to tell them, come down to this press conference and just see them. They're going to play for you. I don't give a fuck. We just play. So he hired a rehearsal studio in London a week before Jules Holland. We flew to England. And
did you call your mom and tell her what's going on?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I told them, and I was like, you know, I mean, you had read in rock magazines about Doc McGhee and Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue and all this shit, and suddenly, like, we're sitting in his office, and he's like calling me out of nowhere. You're like, this is insane, you know. And he loved our energy because we were so productive, you know. We made our own music videos at the time, and we were just like, fuck it, just do it ourselves. You know, I made all the graphics, like the original logo, everything I made it.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, we did it all. Like, we didn't need anyone. And he loved Doc, was like, I can't believe these fucking guys. They're just doing it all by themselves anyway. I don't have to do anything.
Yeah, you know that, though, that's so... that's so resourceful when you bring something to the table for someone to make their life easier. They want to support you more when you do that.
Yeah. And he did. It was great. And I think he hyped us up. I mean, this is Doc McGhee hyping a band. So of course the press came down to that rehearsal studio because they were like, if Doc McGhee says it's cool, it has to be cool, you know. He came down and the press loved it and couldn't believe it, you know, like, we was just this force of nature here, this 3 white guys, kind of punk rockish rhythm and blues, kind of like off the cuff, crazy playing. And then suddenly this amazing soul singer on top of it, you know. It was a perfect match of everything. And it was our songs, and we had done it all by ourselves, and
it had to feel great that it was your songs and you did it all by yourself. Yeah. I mean, that had, even if it failed, that to come that far off your own efforts, that's a really wonderful feeling, man.
Yeah. And, you know, then it was a whirlwind, you know, it didn't really stop until this coronavirus thing. It's just been for the last 8 or 9 years has been insane. We've been jumping from one thing to the other. Like, it's almost, I mean, when this happened with the whole Corona thing, and it's the first time I ever had any real downtime in 9 years. And I was like, wow, it's kind of nice.
No, I understand. I get it. You appreciate the downtime. I get it, man.
Yeah, now it's too far though.
It's too much. Yeah, no, I totally get it, man. Wow. Holy shit. What a story, man. Did you get to play in Sweden for your family?
Yeah, it took a while. Like I said, we jumped on this whirlwind. We were supposed to stay in London for 3 weeks. We ended up staying for 4 months.
Oh, wow.
Because it just, once that press got a hold of us, Brian May got a hold of us through, which is also pretty crazy. Ty, a long time ago, did the first edition of We Will Rock You, the rock opera.
Yeah.
Ty was one of the original singers on there. So he had met Brian May a long, long, long time ago. And Brian May remembered him, been an incredible singer. Ty ended up actually singing for Freddie Mercury's birthday for Queen.
Oh, wow. So he got you the contact.
Yeah.
And Brian May have
Doc McGhee also, the booking agency we ended up knew that Brian May was doing this little theater tour with an opera singer girl. It was not Queen. It was him playing some Queen songs and also doing some like rock opera stuff.
Sure. And
they needed opening act. They didn't really need it, but they put us on it. So for a good 3 weeks, we were on the road with Brian May.
Wow. So let me ask you this. If you're not comfortable answering, that's cool. How does this work? You're over there. You're supposed to be there for a week. You're there for months. There's obviously expenses coming out. You guys got to pay that. I mean, you get it. Someone advances it to you, and then you got to pay on the back end. That's how that works. Correct?
Yeah, and that's how we got a little bit in a tough situation with Doc and stuff, because Doc, he's a seasoned businessman, and it ended up being some pretty crazy contracts. Because he figured out a way to licensing out the album for a certain amount, Bomb Shelter Session for a certain amount of time, and suddenly he said there was this amount of money. It went so fast. We had for being trying to be business oriented as I am, it was very confusing times at the time, because we were such a wild, it was basically, we were at some London hotel and some guy shows up and just says, Doc McGhee wants you guys to sign these papers or you guys are going home, basically. And we're like, we don't want to go home. And so
that's called duress.
Yeah. So we ended up signing probably not the best agreements in the world.
Yeah.
But that's how the money for all that showed up. Yeah. And it was, at the time, we couldn't really have done it any other way anyway.
That's the problem. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's like dance with the devil or go home.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a tough.
Yeah. And Doc, like I said, Doc, we couldn't have done any of this without him. He was
sure.
a force of nature, and he made it work. But we got a name around town so fast. Rock magazines at that time was still a very big part of Europe.
Yeah, sure.
Before, it's early internet, but this is 9 years. It's still it was there, but not as big as it is now. So magazines were still around, and they would write a lot about us. And we suddenly were on tour with Brian May. A lot of people would see us. So now the booking agency that Doc had helped us get in Europe said, there's so much people asking about you guys. You guys touring on your own now. Start doing little clubs. So we start doing that. And then Bon Jovi heard about us, obviously, through Doc McGhee. Bon Jovi was going to start doing this massive stadium tour in Europe. And we're like, saw a video. I saw the Nancy Lee video or the video, whatever, on YouTube, and said, cool, bring him on. And And it's fun. I want to tell everybody who's listening to this, there's actually ended up making a documentary about this time called 80 Shows in 100 Days.
Where is that?
It's on Vimeo. And we have DVDs. I think they're about Vimeo. You can see it. It might be up on YouTube too. It's pretty fun. It's about this whole time that I'm talking about now, because it was such an incredible time. Because here we've been doing, pretty grandiose theater shows, 1,200-1,500 people with Brian May, and, just having Brian May hanging out with you every night and him standing there watching you while you're playing. And I mean, like that would be enough for me, And suddenly we get this call, you guys gonna take the bus up to Scotland and do a show with Bon Jovi at a stadium. And this is actually on that documentary.
That's so cool. 80 shows in 100 days.
Yeah, and at the shows we did at the time, it would be me going on and start doing this train kind of. I would go up by myself on stage before the rest of the band came. and I know I'm standing backstage at the stadium in Scotland. It's 65,000 people out there. And I'm like going, am I going to go out there by myself? Like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, then I might have smoked some weed.
Yeah. Oh my God. I literally felt my blood just pulsating.
You're probably, I can't imagine how nervous you must have been.
It was incredible. And it was, what a rush, and how cool to hear, it's that voice, you're playing guitar, and when you turn the guitar amp up and you play a rock and roll chord, and you're like, yeah.
And 65,000 people clap. Yeah, that's pretty freaking cool,
come
man.
on. That is like heroin to a guitar player.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, this is what I've been waiting for my whole life. So that was, what a whirlwind of, and the amount of fans we got out of that. And yeah.
What do you guys do? Are you still with Doc or no?
No, not now. He's basically retiring.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you guys like self-manage now?
No, well, we're on the different management called cast management.
Okay.
But everything we literally just got on with them.
Okay.
And 2 weeks later, the coronavirus came. So it's everything's kind of hanging in the air. Everything is extremely uncertain right now. I think that was inspired too from us seeing the Stax documentary.
Oh,
watching that, we were like, fuck, can we get some camera guys and they just travel with us and just see all this madness? Because it's like, it's never ending. It's just, we're going from one place to the other, and we're just sleeping at weird places, sleeping in vans or hotels, and suddenly it's a new thing and a new thing and a new thing. I mean, it was never ending. So it was so cool for those camera guys to come with us for that time,
So is that like a production that you guys put together then?
Yeah.
What made you, so the Stax thing inspired you? That, you know what? I really have a lot of respect for your willingness to do new things, even though if you may be, like you said it earlier, you said, I'm the kind of person, I don't care about failing. And that really serves you well. And I never really, I'm kind of thinking out loud to myself. People have said that to me and I never understood it. And I see what they mean now because I'm talking, and this is not about me at all, but that's why it means a little bit more to me. I'm seeing you and I'm like, man, this guy just don't give a shit. He just tries it. If it works, cool. If it doesn't, fine. And that's such an admirable.
Well, we had a motto in the band at that time that was, don't say no.
But you backed it up with putting new ideas. Hey, let's make a documentary. Yeah, why the fuck not?
Yeah, and I got to give a lot of credit to Ty Taylor. He was a burst of energy all this whole time of like, he brought that whole idea up with shooting the documentary, and for us it was like, oh my God, are they going to be filming on the tour bus and everywhere? And like, yep, they're going to be everywhere. and that's, when you're so tired and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I have a camera in my face all the time. But it was great, you know, and it shows a lot of our emotions at that time. It's not the best documentary in the world, but it was really fun, and it's definitely part of our history, and what a mad journey it took us on, you know.
No, I don't think those documentaries need to be good. I mean, look at the Rolling Stones. They have this documentary. I'm sure you've seen it with like where they're doing the circus back when they were doing like Get Your Yayas.
Yeah,
yeah, and it's like there's no consistency. You have no idea, but it's fucking cool to watch. You know, you're not looking at that like I need a historical perspective on the Rolling Stones. No, that's people are going to look at the same thing. Oh, this is a cool band. Let me see what they're doing.
Yeah,
you know,
things that maybe embarrass you at the time too. When you look back at it many years later, you know, like why was I even worried about that? That's so cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I think that being natural, especially nowadays, especially in the music business, is the best thing that anybody can do for themselves, as far as getting new fans and getting people to like you.
Yeah, and it's so cool stuff in that movie that is Brian May backstage, who's standing with him, and he's trying to explain what we are and why he likes it, and it's so funny. He's standing with his star. He's so astronomical, great. So he has his big star T-shirt on with stars and planets on, and he's trying to explain what Vintage Trouble is. Great.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, I want to ask you about something we talked about in the opening, man. What the hell was it like opening for AC/DC? Because I've talked to bands that have done that, and they said it's really hard. It just because their fans are like, that's it. We don't want to see anybody but AC/DC.
Yeah, I mean, wow. I remember it was such a great moment. I mean, we obviously had been so lucky to perform with some stunning artists.
Yeah.
These 10 years that have been going on. We heard about the AC/DC thing. It's a little, I'm not 100% sure how it all got together, but apparently, you know, they did Coachella right before the Grammys when they performed. It was 2015, I believe. And somebody had showed them a video of Vintage Trouble. And I mean, if you put Vintage Trouble AC/DC together, you're going like they're nothing close to each other. They're so far away from. But in a way, we are very similar.
It's blues. It's all the blues.
Yeah, man. Exactly. It's all the rhythm and blues music, and they just turn up louder and do it. Yeah. We had heard the same thing because we had heard. I can't remember. I think it was Buddy Guy apparently had played with them. And he had gotten booed out. They had even thrown. He had left the stage because somebody had thrown a glass bottle or something at him.
That's just not cool to do to a guy who's almost 80 years old, man. That's
horrible.
Yeah.
And don't quote me if there was Buddy Guy. I'm pretty sure it was. But we heard that they were looking for a new support act. It was only supposed to be a few shows in Europe. I think we were supposed to try for like 2 or 3 shows. I'm sure Doc was a huge part of organizing, making it work. Yes, and we had heard that it was like going on before AC/DC is like suicide.
Yeah.
Like their fans are all, it's Angus, and if you're not Angus, you can go and fuck yourself.
Yeah, that's.
And we're going to Europe. I believe the first show was something called Hockenheim. I don't quote me on that. It was, don't quote me on that. It was somewhere, maybe it was in Holland. I don't remember where the first show was. We go on. We're not going on. We're coming backstage. I mean, when something gets this big, this is basically one of the largest tours in the world. 2015, I think it was the second largest tour in the world because I think Taylor Swift sold more tickets than them. But as far as capacity, how much people they play for, it was the largest show in 2015. Tour, I mean.
Right.
So we're coming on, and I don't know, the first show, maybe it was like 85,000, one of the smaller shows.
Oh my God.
And it was a summer tour in Europe, and they had open fields, open tickets or whatever they call it. And so people came very early.
Okay.
So there were 85,000 people there when we were about to go on stage.
That's great.
And yeah, I mean, we had some experience from The Who and a lot of other things, but like this size is like, it's taking it from a car to a spaceship, you know?
How do you can't even hear yourself, I'm sure.
Huh?
You can't hear yourself with that many people, can you?
Yeah, you can.
You had in-ears?
Out on stage. You know, like, yeah, we had in-ears at the time. AC/DC mostly run without in-ears. They have literally their stage level. When we joined, obviously I'm a huge AC/DC fan. And when we jumped on the tour, of course, I wanted to be side stage to see them. And we were not allowed. No one was allowed even close. And
really?
Then, yeah, a couple of first shows. And then we became friends with everyone. We ended up doing 50 shows with these guys. 50.
So they must have been pretty cool to hang out with.
Amazing.
That's so cool.
But yeah, I just want to say that they're so loud on stage. They're actually louder on stage. The decibel level is louder on stage than is out in the audience. That's what I want to get to.
Oh my. So that's really cool that you got to connect with those guys like that. And it's because, you know, sometimes it's like, don't meet your heroes. You know, but other times like this, it's like a nice thing when it's good to meet your heroes.
I mean, I have so many fucking amazing stories about, I mean, they took us to dinner. They even shut down a whole restaurant, bought out the whole restaurant for a whole night. It was just us and AC/DC, and we just had this feast. Like,
oh my God. Nice to have AC/DC money, man.
Yeah. I mean, and what a sweet guy. Straight up, the most like you and me just hanging out like this.
That's cool.
The first thing they asked, have you looked up your accountant? Have you asked to see the books? That's the first thing Brian asked us.
Interesting.
He was like, do it, trust me. He was like, last time I did, I got $1.9 million back.
Is that what he said?
First thing. When we came to that dinner.
But how cool is him to tell you that?
Yeah, man, they were like, and what a business guys, and what troopers, and what hard workers. You don't understand when is that level of touring, what the capacity of it and what it means. It's literally traveling with your own city every day. With 52 semi-trucks, 52 for one show. They had 3 stages. One had to be teared down on one venue. The other one was built for the show we were doing. Another one was getting built at another venue.
52 semis. So that means just to show up has got to cost them close to like $1 million or more just to show up.
Just to show up.
Ticket.
That's only the semi-trucks. Then we're talking about probably 26 tour buses for all the crew. I mean, this is so massive. We lived a boy's dream when we did that tour, and I got to bring my family and my friends.
Oh, that is nice.
Show them backstage and just show them the world we're living in, because you're living in such a bubble when you're doing tours like that. You never really go outside. It's like your own city. It's a massive catering, hundreds of people, and you know everyone. You know, they got your own laundry service, and I mean, it's fucking amazing. I mean, I remember telling the band, like, if we could do this all the time, I told you, I'm with Rolling Stones. I'm never gonna stop.
Yeah,
why would you? This is amazing. Like, I mean, so incredible. And see how hard they worked and the time they took for them to arrange the show every day to make it, and hear them like having even rehearsal gear backstage and constantly working. This is AC/DC that's been around for a long time, and they're still working so hard.
That's amazing. I gotta believe you ate like a king on that tour.
Yeah, we all gained. So we were all like coming out. It was that's incredible.
That's amazing.
But yeah, like I want to get back to that and say that it's the first show, because we're we're standing backstage, you know, and it's about 10 minutes to showtime. And I remember Brian and Cliff came up to us and wanted to say hello. It was the first two guys we met, it's the bass player and the singer.
That's so nice.
And they came and they were like, good luck. There's some people out there. And we're like, oh, thanks a lot. Because like they were even used to people getting totally booed out. So they were like, good luck.
And so how did, obviously it went well, really well, if you got 50 shows.
It was amazing. I mean, I can't think, and I hope maybe there's some AC/DC fans on here that came to the shows, how supportive they were of us. It was almost unreal.
That's amazing, man.
And
that's so cool.
I mean, we had them sing our songs. We had them, they were on AC/DC blogs. They were all saying like, go early, you must see the opening act. And like, I mean, they supported us for years on our own shows. It was
that's so cool. Incredible. You know what? Brian lives down here, like about 40 minutes south of me.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
crazy.
I mean, what, and we couldn't believe it. We were scared too, but we have done things like that before. You remember, we got booked on Hellfest in Germany.
My God, that is not necessarily a match.
No, we were in between Megadeth and there was some other, and we were Vintage Trouble on there. We're like, what the fuck are we doing here? And we got on and we played our set, and Ty had them all like he had them in the palm of his hand. It was incredible.
So he's a really great front man.
He's beyond that. I mean, he just comes in and takes over. He owns you when he's out there. And
but that's what you're supposed to do, man. That's what when I'm in a concert and somebody does that,
yeah,
it's almost like good bedside manner for a doctor. It's almost like, okay, I'm in good hands. This guy's taking control. He knows what the fuck he's doing. Shut up and enjoy the show. And I think people all want to feel that way, but it's just having the balls to do that, which he obviously does.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we had so much fun on that tour. It was really hard to come back to reality after that. You're getting used to that, you know, like all of that, and then come to your own show after that and going like, what the fuck is this little fucking shithole? You know?
And then you got to play
it's only 2,000 people here.
Yeah.
You know?
God, what a great experience, man.
Yeah, and their crew and I mean, you know, I'm a guitar nerd, and they let me be around Angus equipment and all these legendary Marshall amps. And
did you get to play any of his SGs?
Yeah, all of it.
What's the secret sauce there?
Nothing.
Just crank every dime, everything, huh?
No, not really. That guy is such a good player. It's all him, you know. It's just amazing. He's playing the skinniest string, like nines on this SG. So if you can just touch it, you bend it out of tune. Yeah. He's perfect in pitch all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, and even Brian May, on tour Brian May, I got to play the original, his magic guitar that he built with his dad. You know?
Yeah. What was that like?
It's almost unplayable. I mean,
it's so unique to him.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like a cello neck on it. It's so radius. It's like I could almost not play a chord on it. And then Brian May picks it up and like perfect in pitch. It shows, you know, it's nothing about equipment. It's about players.
Great point.
Yeah.
Then let's talk let's talk about, well, let me just ask you one. What were some, you kind of mentioned some of them. Any other low points that you've had to deal with and how you got through them?
Low points?
Yeah.
Well, my low point is I have a illness that I've had since I was a little kid. I'm epileptic.
Oh, wow.
So I get grand mal seizures and
holy shit. Sorry, man. That's heavy shit.
No, it's okay. I've been since I was a kid. Probably ended up getting with skateboarding. it started happening around 11
From
years
falling.
old. A lot of concussions. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
It's been a real drag, you know, because the tempo we've been living for the last 9 years, and you know, a lot of it is my own fault, because I also wanted to live a rock and roll life and still drink and have fun, and that doesn't go good together at all. And I jeopardized, you know, my band members and a lot of stuff like that I regret a lot.
Man, thank you for sharing. What, how do you, is it controlled with medication or?
Well, I'm sober now. I've been sober for almost 3 years. So, it's been tremendously helpful.
Oh, so, okay.
A lot of it is alcohol induced, drug induced, and no sleep. You know, we had a schedule that was insane for a while, where we would be like on the run. Basically, my only home would be the airport, wherever we were, you know.
Yeah.
We constantly be somewhere, going somewhere, doing something. And if you party on that and wake up early in the morning, I would have seizures. And you know, it would happen a lot. And I had some horrible incidents. Like, I mean, in Germany, we were on tour, and I disappeared one night, and I was out with some people that I had met, you know, that no one knew or anything. And all I remember waking up at a hospital in Germany, and they're asking me who I am. And the problem when you have grand mal seizures like that, you barely know anything when you wake up.
So it takes, you have to like recover from that.
Yeah, it takes a long time. And I remember being in that hospital, and the doctor saying, "Who are you? Where you?" And slowly things, I said, "I think I'm here playing, touring in a band, but I don't know." And he ended up being so nice and looking up who was in town, and he found out that there was Vintage Trouble, ended up driving me to the tour bus, and there the band was been looking for me for hours and hours, and you know.
Wow, yeah. That's heavy, man.
Yeah.
That's heavy.
And the reason I quit altogether was like I had a horrible seizure in Spain, in Madrid, 3 years ago, and crushed my whole skull.
Oh my God. As a man, I can't, when you must have left to America, you're a parent now. My daughter's gone for like a week. I'm shitting myself. And she's, you know, I can't imagine your mom must have been scared shitless.
Yeah. I mean, I had it since I was so young, and it's not really until now I started being a proper adult about it, and I ignored it for many years. I just didn't want to talk about it. I had seizures. So what? Shit happens. I bang my head. Who cares? I'm good. The next day I'm fine. I just didn't care. But with the last couple of incidents that were very severe, you know, very, very, and you know, I had hundreds and hundreds of grand mal seizures through my life, and endless amount of concussions. So my memory is terrible, you know. So, which is really rough for my band, because it's like, you know, I can't remember a lot of stuff.
You mean songs? Yeah. Sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So man, I give you, again, that's a lot of respect for addressing that.
Well, and I mean, that's, and it's not, I don't know if it's addressing it. I feel I've been trying lately to reach out to epilepsy groups. And that's maybe something through your listener. I don't know if anybody deals with that, or maybe even parents are worried about their children having it. In my older age now, I would love to help kids that are dealing with the same thing, because it's pretty frustrating, and it's really hard to explain for anyone who does not have it, what it means and how you feel. having grand mal seizures is like when you wake up, you can be pretty much another person for the next 2 months, you know. And that sounds pretty crazy to explain to someone and don't understand what it means, but it's messes with your brain so much. I mean, it's literally like you have this brain full of neurons, and when you have a grand mal seizure, that means that part of your brain, literally all the neurons separate. So that means when you get back to consciousness, like I can't even speak English when I wake up. I speak Swedish.
Speak Swedish. If you're comfortable, and I will tell you that people do listen to this because I get feedback all the time. How did you get sober? Did you just stop drinking, or did you, again, if you're not, that's totally cool, man. I'll edit my question out.
No, I'm 100%. The reason I stopped was like we were on tour, middle of tour. Usually when we do European tours, it's about 40 to 46 dates. So it's a long 2.5 months usually.
Yeah.
This happened about almost 2 months into the tour. It was so severe. I mean, I crushed this part. Under here was broken. They had open from inside my mouth and do structural, like bone structural surgery on my face. It was totally smashed. I had seizure. I fell right into a sidewalk.
Oh my God.
From partying. Yeah.
How did you?
No, yeah, and I just want to tell you, like, I mean, when I woke up from that and what I did to my band, because we ended up continuing the tour. I canceled 3 shows and then
that's it. So you're all bandaged up and you're up on stage.
It was horrible, but I felt so bad for I mean, all the doctors. I ended up getting amazing doctors in Madrid, Spain. They flew in amazing people, like face surgeons. I mean, you can't even tell today.
No, I'm sitting there thinking, I wish I looked half as good looking as you, and without any fucking surgery. And I'm like,
yeah.
No, it's like
this whole part was totally smashed into my head. What I did to my band and my family, myself, you know, I was like, I have to stop, you know, like the way our schedule and, you know, that I knowingly having epilepsy and still drinking, knowing that can infuse seizures, and I still doing it, it's pretty fucking stupid. And I was like, it's not worth it. You know, I'm a funny, you know, I love to have fun, and I was a happy drinker and I enjoyed it. I'd be very social drinking, and, you know, if you're on tour all the time and meeting people and it's fun, but you can't continue like that. You can't. It's just, you're going to kill yourself. And even anybody who have no illnesses or anything, you can't continue like that, or you're going to kill yourself. That's just it. But after that, I just said, I got to figure out a way to stop. And I ended up going to AA. I was very skeptical too. I was like, really, I'm going to go down with all these weirdos? And, you know, it felt really weird. And I ended up meeting so many amazing people. I mean, you go to AA in LA, it's amazing. Like, you meet actors, musicians, tour managers, and who are totally functioning and just have this problem, and so good. And, you know, I used it for tours. I mean, AA is incredible. You're in the middle of Spain somewhere, you can look up an English speaking AA and go hang out. You don't have to say anything. It's just a feeling of, you know, sometimes it gets tough when maybe the rest of the crew is partying and you're standing there like, oh God, I wish I could do this. But now it's been so long, I'm totally fine. I don't even, and it's been good influence of the rest of my band. I think a lot of us have been very cleaned up.
Man, first of all, thank you for sharing.
Sorry for being such a Debbie Downer.
No, let me tell you, I'm not a guy who has needed to get sober, but I am a guy who has needed to make a lot of changes. And I am such a believer in 12-step programs. And I do not understand why they don't teach many of these skills, which are various forms of coping skills, as you know, why that's not taught in school, and why they're still teaching things like fucking ancient Chinese history. Nothing against Chinese people, but you know what I'm saying? What's going to help you in today's day and age? What bit of knowledge is going to propel your life and your family's life and your business partners' lives forward? A coping skill or knowing the Ming Dynasty? I don't know, but I mean, it would appear to be a coping skill.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I'm a huge proponent.
Yeah, and I mean, and obviously it's a tough in the music business, or I'm sure in the acting or any artistic where, well, you know, there's a lot of downtime, and then there's just this short time where you got to kind of explode and do all your emotions at the show or whatever you do, and then it's downtime again. And it's easy to drag yourself to a world of alcohol and drugs but I think it's part of our generation too. We were so much looking up to rock stars, and you know, there's all these famous images of them partying, but I think it's going away a little bit. I meet a lot of young musicians now that don't seem to have any interest in it like that we used to have it at all.
But when you're touring every night, like you say, what do you know, if I go out on a weekend and I have a drink with my wife, if I went out every day and I don't even think I think it's just the context of which artists operate in. You know, you have a drink together afterwards. The problem is you're playing every night.
And you have a lot of drinks. If you go out with your fans, everyone wants to buy you a drink. Everyone, you know, and it just ends up. Yeah, I mean, when we started, like earlier when we talked about us being there in UK, and it's just escalated so fast, you know, and then suddenly it's all you ever do. And it hurts your playing, it hurts everything about it, you know. Some people are stronger than others. Some people are the Keith Richards of the world, and some are weak. And I definitely, as part of the week, you know, with my illness and dealing with that, mainly I stopped. I just didn't want to jeopardize anyone else anymore. And I've been really good. Now, if I control, I'm not on medication.
That's great.
No, because I'm not a big fan of all these pharmaceuticals. And,
yeah, I'm not either.
In epilepsy, it's very unusual illness, and it's still very unknown. As much as they're talking about it, it's still very unknown what it actually is. Wow. I mean, it's been around for thousands of years, and all these people who, you can read history books about epileptic seizures, and people who are trying to figure out how it works. But basically, the main medication you're eating today for it is very similar to like bipolar medication. So it really slows you down. And I mean, I was eating it for many years, and I just hated how I felt.
Yeah, I would imagine, especially a guy like you who's got so much energy.
Well,
I know you're a very happy guy too. You're like a very happy, genuinely like a happy, you know, I couldn't see you pissing somebody off very much. I couldn't see you getting pissed off too much. I mean, like you're normal, like everybody gets a certain level, but you know, your nature, you're like very amiable. I wouldn't see. Yeah. Well, once you were able, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, but
once you finally went to AA and you were like, hey man, asking for this help stuff isn't so bad. Has it allowed you to ask for help in other areas of your life easier?
I'm getting there. I read your biography, and I know, I know a big part of you, and I get that. And I'm this whole coronavirus thing have really made, of course, you know, this is the first time we're really stopping. Stop our lives kind of halted to a stop, you know, altogether. And it's time you've been thinking about it. And I'm not so good at asking for help in other ways either, and I want to get better at it. And it's something I've been on my mind a lot lately, and in a lot of ways. And and it's okay, like you said in your biography, it's okay to ask, and just let your guard down. You're not the greatest at everything, and it's easy to think that, you know, with all my experience, you don't know shit.
You
know what I mean? Like it takes, even in areas where I feel like, you know, even my profession, like I'm a guitar player, and I mean, every day I turn on YouTube and see some 14-year-old kid that plays like so good, I'm going like, this is insane. I mean, I can't even.
Yeah, but that's all that kids. It's like Tiger Woods starting to play golf at 5, and I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. Yeah.
No, but what I mean is, like, it's never too late to learn, and I love that. I feel like I got that a lot in me lately. I've been practicing more than I've ever done. I've been talking to my dear friends a lot more. We've been talking about things like this, just easy things, you know. Yeah. Sometimes, you know, when you're always on the run, it becomes very, you know, about, oh, how are you doing? What have you been doing? And blah. But like real things, and you realize you have so many friends around you that have so much experience of different things that you might not know about. And I always ask for help and talk to people, communicate, you know, it's everything.
Yeah, man, I'm so thankful that you shared that. And it was very, very sweet of you. And I'm so happy that you are in a better place, man.
Yeah. And I will bring out, if anyone, you know, I know there might be even parents on here who have kids with epilepsy. Like my type of epilepsy is like, I don't get it daily, you know. And like, I mean, now I pretty controlled. I get maybe once a year. I've been lucky now for I mean, sometimes I'm scared to say it because I feel like I'm bringing.
No, but it's not luck. It's being sober.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I had some now after. It is, you know, anxiety build up and you know, I'm not all there, and I still get it, you know. I mean, I just a year ago we were going to a cruise, and you know, they were just going to pick me up here from my place, and all I remember is them knocking on the door, and like, we've been trying to call you for hours, and like, yeah, I had a seizure right here, and I just leaving. You know, we hadn't been on tour for a while. I was anxious about it and felt like, you know, we haven't done this in a long time, you know, and yeah, it happens. So I'm still there. And I just, like I said, like, I just want to reach out because if people do want to talk about it, because it's an unusual thing. And like I told you earlier, I've been trying to listen to podcasts and find podcasts about people with epilepsy like me who are actually functioning. We are working people, but I still have it, you know, and how it affects you.
Why don't you do one?
Yeah, I trust me. I've been thinking about it because I've been listening to other. The ones that I found are a little bit hard because they usually concentrate on, as they should, on severe cases. You know, kids that have it daily. I mean, I was listening to one program. There was a girl who literally had 10 seizures a day. I can only imagine how horrible it must be. Horrible. And as a parent, to you know, you want to take care of your child, and you just see this, because even I always said seeing it is almost worse than having it, because it's such a, I don't know if you ever experienced this.
No.
Anyone seeing someone having it is such an awful experience, because they look like they're having a heart attack and you're dying. Your lips get blue, and you know, you get totally white, and you look like you're dying, you know. And like, what am I going to do? Like, this is happening to a person next to me, you know. And I want to thank my band out here, because they've been my band and my crew that toured with us, who've been seeing endless amount of seizures and always took so good care of me.
Dude, I'll get you on your podcast.
Yeah, well, maybe. Anyway, I mean, like I said, they can reach out on my social media and stuff. Because I do want to help people. I can't really help anyone more than talk to them about my experiences and how it feels. Because it's very hard, and if you can't talk to someone who actually have experienced it, it's so awkward to speak to someone else about it because you feel like I'm fucking crazy,
Yeah.
Like I said, sometimes I have seizures and I feel like a different person for months.
Wow, man, I'm just glad you're okay and you're
Yeah,
doing much better, man.
yeah.
Yeah, you're a good guy to tell that story. Thank you. That was, I bet you there's a lot of people out there that are going to hear it and like be pretty moved by that. And thank you, Nalle. See, Nalle's a good name. Man, let's talk about gear for a minute.
Oh shit.
Do you have the time? Because we've been going a while. You good with this?
Yeah, I'm having fun.
You know, it's funny. I am too. The interviews have gotten so much longer since coronavirus. Because people are like, oh yeah, I got plenty of time.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all good.
I always see you play. I see the telly there, but I usually, most of your videos, I've seen you playing a Les Paul. What's your go-to guitar right now? Is that it, or?
Yeah, it's a Les Paul. This is the official #1, and it's kind of funny. It's actually not it's a really nice guitar, and it was brand new when we started Vintage Trouble, so it has all the scars
from the belt rash.
It had the Vintage Trouble logo on it.
What is that little?
It's a Vintage Trouble logo.
Oh, okay, that's what that is. Okay,
silver medal.
Very cool.
One of our fans gave us at one of the earliest shows, and I ended up putting it in my guitar.
That's cool, man. So what is that, like a 2010?
No, 2009.
It's a standard?
Yeah. It's a custom shop. It's a 59 reissue. It's a nice guitar.
Oh, nice, man.
Yeah, and to be honest, before that, I was a Strat player. I was Steve Ray Vaughan all the way out, man. It was Texas blues. I didn't like Les Paul. I think it felt like they were clumsy, heavy, awkward to play. You can't really sit down. And it's not until we started making demos, Ty and I, and we started making these songs. And I think one of the original, the Blues Hand-Me-Down, which kind of been our business card kind of song, for a long time. And I played this guitar on it, and I was like, wow, it sounds so right. Maybe I should just start going with this, like little Fender Tweed amps and a Les Paul. Because when you're a guitar player, I mean, when you're in a small band, like just bass, drums, guitar, and vocal, you need a fat guitar, something that kind of takes up like a Strat is much thinner, and it's good when you have keyboards and all of that. But yeah, so I started playing it, and suddenly I was like, okay. So this was the only guitar I traveled with for many years. The only one. And I'm like, my God, I've been crying because, for a long time we didn't have guitar techs or anything. I just tried to figure out myself what's going on with it.
Oh,
and,
you got to
playing at festivals where it's pouring down and guitars are all out of tune and whacked out of, but it's the only thing you have, but it's a trooper. So this is #1.
Is that chambered or is that heavy?
I actually made it chambered because it was so fucking heavy.
There's no need to have a fucking heavy guitar, man.
No, and it's still heavy, and it's 2 pounds went out of it. You can see it back; it's been drilled out.
Yeah.
But
wow.
Now I'm working with Gibson.
I saw that, man. I was happy to see that.
Yeah, great relationship. So they've been really sweet and so now I have 3 Les Pauls.
Good. As you should.
This is #2, and this one I play a lot now.
That's a beautiful coat. That's a beautiful matting on that. Yeah.
But it's then I got really lucky. We were I was working with Fender amps and stuff like that, and we got invited to do a tour of the Fender factory. I don't know if you ever been to that.
No, in California I've not. Is it cool?
Yeah, it's crazy. You just walk around and it's endless, just thousands of cars. But we were there, and you know, they have Gretsch now.
Yes.
It's a long time ago. It's 2013, I think. Rick and I did the tour, and the Gretsch custom shop is inside the factory. And we walk up there, and I meet this guy who runs the shop there, Steven Stern, who is like a master luthier, the builder there. He runs custom, incredible guy. He's so sweet. He's a dear friend of mine now. He actually gave me that beautiful cabinet back there.
That's cool, man.
But we come up there, and he apparently was a big fan of the band. He has seen us on David Letterman and said, I love the band. And you know, do you need a guitar? And I was like, well, I'm a Les Paul guy, you know, like I have this bass 59, it's a huge fat neck, and I'm used to that. So I don't know if, you know, Gretsch guitars would be it. But why don't you take your Les Paul down there, and we kind of measure everything and I make you guitar. And I was like, well, I'm not going to say no to that.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, they made me, I mean, are you kidding me?
So that's a Gretsch.
It's a Gretsch. It's got the silver medal too in it.
Yeah.
Name on it. And it's my neck. It's the Les Paul neck.
Are you a big guy?
No, I'm by big hands. I play like Hendrix. I play like with the thumb over, you know?
Yeah. God, your hands are massive, dude.
Yeah. So, it's obvious it's a duo jet.
Yeah.
But, you know, I was like, I love humbuckers, so I don't know about these Filtertronics. And at the time, I've been working with this guy in England called Monty's Pickups. Monty's Guitars is his name, or his company name, I think. But he made me all the Les Paul pickups that I have in all my guitars. And I said, can we get like cool old Filtertronics? And I just send them to him, and he makes me PAF humbuckers inside of them. And then Steven Stern was like, I don't give a fuck, do it, you know? So we did that. So these are kind of my own pickups made by Monty's Guitars. And yeah, I mean, this guitar, I did the whole AC/DC tour on that.
With that, that's not hollow?
Yeah, it's hollow body.
Oh, it is hollow. Okay.
But it's got the thing in the middle.
The block.
I mean, this is the custom shop. This is a really nice guitar.
Yeah, it's a pretty guitar, man.
Yeah, I mean, and I wanted that off-white, bone white. I always play in black suits, you know. So
yeah, you guys dress up pretty nice on stage, man.
Thank you.
You guys dress really nice on stage.
So, and it was fun with AC/DC, of course, because of their relations with the Gretsch, you know, the rhythm guitar. So
yeah,
with Malcolm Young, and obviously he wasn't on the tour. He'd already been sick, so his nephew was playing, but he was playing Malcolm's all equipment. So Malcolm's guitar was there.
It's funny. They have so many of those guys that are all, you know, related nephews, you know, they're all families deep.
Amazing family, the Young family. But yeah, so I guess those three would be my like main guitars, you know, that always kind of comes with me. And then we have spares, weird guitars, some tellies and stuff like that. This, like I said, that's John Busher's old Telecaster, but that used to be I used that for everything, you know, but then...
Really? It's so hard to imagine.
Yeah.
Because I only know you as a, you know, all the studying I've done, and I only know you as a you know, a humbucker guy, not a telly guy.
I mean, now when we're doing so much studio time, it's great to be around cool, different guitars, you know. I'm almost now looking for really weird guitars, like old Dan Electros, and just something that sounds different, you know?
Yeah.
Because when you track guitars, it's such a different environment when you're making recordings compared to being on a stage live.
Sure. You need all those tools if you're doing tracking too. Tell me your top 3 desert island discs.
I heard you ask that question many times. I was like, oh my God, I need to be prepared for that. I would think, you know what? I have been thinking about it. The number one thing I would say, if I go to a desert island, and I would probably bring some like classical music, like Beethoven or something like that.
Really?
My first pick could probably be like something like Ludwig van Beethoven, like, you know, what's the piano, I'm so bad with him, the number 5, the Emperor's something. It's so good. Like, I mean, because to me, I know nothing about classical music, but every time I hear it now, I'm going like,
feels good.
So it's just, I mean, it's like the endless fountain of ideas. You know, you can take a millions of a piece of a classical piece and like make a pop song out of it. But you know what I mean? I mean, it's so much like, I can't believe they made that music, you know? I mean, to think of like, well, those classical like Mozart, and, I mean, these, if you compare it to any music being made today, they were like, I mean, it was like a whole other universe. The way they made it flow, and especially Beethoven music, like there's so much, I mean, so much is so famous, and it's still, I mean, little kids can hear it today and go like, I know what that is, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's to me, it's like that magic stone that you have no idea. But if I would go to an island, I'll probably bring it, because it'd be an endless amount of music ideas for me to twang around to that. You know what I mean?
All right. So Beethoven.
I think I would really like that. I probably would bring a Hendrix record, because if I have a pair of headphones on that island, because the same thing there, he touched another world. If you listen to like one of my favorite songs is when he covered All Along the Watchtower and stuff like that. When you hear that in a pair of headphones, I mean, I couldn't hear any new record that even sound close to. I mean, how did he do that? And I even met Eddie Kramer, and like he couldn't really answer me. Like, how did they do that? Like, how does it sound like that?
Even the melody, it didn't sound like any distortion or any kind of sound you've ever heard. The effect of it.
Acoustic guitars all along the Watchtower, like when you hear that pair of headphones, you're going like. I mean, I always bring that song to recording when if we're making a record in a real studio. That's the first song I play up. Like, I want to hear that, because, I mean, to me, it won't be better to record a guitarist than that. You know?
That's cool. I think I had Dave Mason on the show. Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
I think he played acoustic guitar in that song.
Really?
Yeah, he did the acoustic. I'm pretty sure that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as used up as that would be, but I mean, it's still, I don't listen to Hendrix all the time in any way, but when I hear it, I just go like, I can't believe how good this is.
Yeah.
You know, what were they doing? I mean, and to me, even old recordings in general, I was listening to your podcast with, what's his name? Rick Holmstrom from Making Staple.
Yeah.
Oh, I seen him live. We did some festivals together, so I stood backstage hearing him play. Like,
with Mavis.
Yeah, he's a serious old school. I mean, to get that vintage tone and do it the way he's doing it, he's good.
He had a hell of a story, man. That was
it was great.
Yeah.
But the odd thing is that, when the song that we just put out, Not Right By Me, We Can't Wait. That's an old song of ours that we redid. And when I was talking to Ty about doing the new music for it, we really wanted to express that song because of what's happening with the police and some kind of reform, I think, is in need to the police force and how they are dealing with people, and especially with minorities and I have a lead singer who's black, and we travel in America a lot. And you come to certain states,
and there's stuff. Hold on a second. Let's give me your third Desert Island Disc, and then we'll talk about both those tracks.
And I would say I would get some Mavis Staples, because I'm or not Mavis Staples, the Staples singers, because I'm really
singers.
into them, because we kind of made the new version of that song based. I was listening to so much Staples singers and Pops playing guitar.
Oh, so you had that in mind.
Tuning down the guitar, it's like this is a whole step down. It's just getting all that. It's just getting like this certain vibe to it that I forgot how Staples singers, like the way Pops play guitar and with that tremolo. It was such a vibe. I was like, fuck, it's so cool. So that's why that new recording is all tuned down guitars with a shitload of tremolo on.
I love tremolo, man. It's such a great vibe, man. Especially for your kind of music. It's
exactly
real swampy and soulful.
You can leave it on everything, you know. But
hey,
so I would bring a cool box set of Staples singers, some Mozart or some Beethoven, and some Hendrix. I'd be good. Could live there for the rest of my life.
All right, so let's talk about your two. Since you started talk about "Not All Right by Me" first.
Yeah, like I said, we had this whole thing. I mean, first of all, I couldn't believe with all the shit's going on, and then you put on the news and you see video like that, and you just like take a big breath and go like, damn. We need to talk about it. It's been around for a long time, and I know people get really stressed out about it now, and the whole conversation about it, and you talk to white musicians or whatever, and they're all going like, oh, I'm colorblind, and you can't be colorblind. You got to understand this is happening. It's around, and it's always been around, and it's thousands of years old, this mentality. Now with, like I said, we toured in the US a lot. Certain states, I don't want to name any states, but we've been in situations in certain cities. I can tell you a real story. We did a show in a theater. Lots of people did a sold out show. After we did a meet and greet afterwards, and we met a band, and they said, we're having a jam down at a bar down the street. Why don't you guys come down, maybe sit in and play? Fuck yeah. And we're going in there. So me and Richard goes first into this. There's no one in the bar really than the band playing. And so
they were having a jam. Nobody knew about it.
They were having a jam. And suddenly the security guard just suddenly stands in front of Ty before he walks in and says, sorry, the place is full. And we go like, what are you talking about? There's no one in there. And he's just looking at Ty and he's shaking his head. Nope, you're not. He didn't let Ty. I mean, are you fucking in? Are you? I mean, and we got so upset when it happened, and we were like, is this really happening? Is this like
in 2020?
Yeah, no, it was like 2018 or 2017 or whatever.
But
I mean, it's incredible, and we experienced a lot of that. Another crazy story that I want to bring it out to people. I mean, we for a while we were flying so much, we would bring up frequent flyer miles like endless. I would have like million account points, So we get lucky. We would fly somewhere in the States, and we get upgraded. I couldn't ever afford to pay for some fancy business class. And
who the hell can?
And Ty and I got upgraded, and it was on a flight, and we come up, and Ty's seat is next to a lady, and she walks up. It's a white lady who walks up to the stewardess and asks me, "Is she really sitting there? Is this really his seat?" And Ty is a very well-dressed,
He's
Very
impeccable, man. The guy,
impeccable, man.
he is like elegant.
And this lady had the nerve to ask if he was really in the right seat. And that's when you just go like,
yeah, you know.
I mean, I couldn't even confront the lady. We were just like, wow, okay. I mean, so it's that. And then for us, it was like this, you know, people see on news about this police brutality, and you like, is this really happening? And people saying it's the same for everyone. It's not. I have a lot of friends that always say the same stories, you know, and is it okay? Should it be that a totally a normal black guy being stopped by a police and he's going to be worried about it? It's not cool. And like, why is it this thought of it being so, it's got to stop. So this had to happen. And it's like ripping off a Band-Aid, right? It's going to hurt a lot. And it's happening right now. And we got to confront it, and we have to talk about it. And I think people need to hear from us. Like, I mean, I live with Ty, and we spend so much time together. I see it, and I could never, you know, you would never understand it. You know, I can never understand it, you know, until you see it in front of you and go like, I can't believe this is happening. Like, why? Just the color of someone's skin's going to decide what you think of a person. And so it felt really important to us to bring this out. And Ty wrote some extended lyrics added another verse to this song. That's an old song of ours that we redid. And it was, you know, what better than, we were thinking about changing the music to more some like militant energy of it. And, you know, we went back to the staple singers and listened to, they were a big part of that movement in the 60s, where it was the same things that are happening now were going on, right?
I think Rick talked about a story even in his interview.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. With Mavis, exactly where she was, exactly.
And she was
a lot of the same things, you know, and it's happening today. And we, you know, we have to speak up about it. And what better than for us with, you know, we support all of it. And I'm not here to say, people always misunderstand the whole thing with defund the police. And there's no one saying that they should take away the police, but they can be restructured, and they can be a different understanding of what the police force is supposed to be there for. They be there for protect and to serve, and not to what's going on now. I'm not an expert on this, or I don't want to talk out of my ass and say things that I don't understand, but what's happening is scary, and we need to talk about it, and everybody needs to be educated, and some kind of reform to it needs to happen. And people can be as mad as they want about it. We have to do it. So sorry.
You know, the problem is, I don't think you can. This is a bad analogy, but it's like getting sober. You can't tell somebody, hey man, you really need to be more cognizant of your behavior and respectful of people about racism. If you know what I'm saying, they have to want to.
Well, or experience.
That's where the problem. Yeah, right. Well, I think where the problem. You know, for people who are racist and who do like, you know, look, come on, what a piece of shit for someone to say, is he sitting next to me? Come on, this isn't fucking 1960. I mean, that's just ridiculous. You know, yeah, I mean, have you never sat next to a black person in your life? I mean, just randomly, like, is this the first black person you're sitting next? Like, that doesn't even make somebody that would do that doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah. And can you imagine how Ty would feel with something like that?
I mean, honestly, probably, unfortunately, is like not surprised, because I've got a ton of buddies I've spoken to, that even guys that, you know, who've been on the show, we've talked some of it on the air, some of it off the air. And it's just like, you know, different, you know, like getting into an elevator and, you know, the woman sort of like,
Yeah, I know.
you know, slowly,
Yeah.
you know, moves over or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's part of American history. It needs to be brought up. I think a lot of younger people that think that way got it from their parents. They don't know better. A lot of them haven't really traveled. If you only live
That's
in
a
your
big one, man.
neighborhood and you're not, of course it's going to feel unusual. And you know, oh, like the different than I am and whatever. Like the world is a big place now. The world got a lot bigger in the last 20 years or 15 years, you know, like,
yeah,
or not
smaller.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Because of the internet.
I mean, yeah, everything like but you know, us that travel the world on a constant basis and meet cultures from all around the world. And I'm sure it can be hard to understand from a little small town in the States somewhere that don't really experience it. But you got to talk about it. And for us, you know, we use music to kind of send a message, and hopefully people will listen to it. And I don't mean I'm willing to talk to anyone. I mean, I don't need to, you know, I know there's ignorant people here and you can shake your head and go like, but most of it is just, if they would just experience a little bit of it and feel some understanding to it and see what happens, then maybe they would understand. I don't know.
Do you find this, or Ty probably a better person to ask, but I'll ask you because you're with him all the time. Is this prevalent? Is this less prevalent in other countries?
Yeah.
It is.
I mean, I'm from Sweden. It exists there too in other ways. Here, it has a very lingering. I mean, it's not that long ago, you know. You think about it. I mean,
I'm 56.
We're talking about 50.
5 years before we were born, or I was born.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It's a really odd. It's very American. Yeah. Racism exists everywhere. I think it has and most of it is just fear of other people, fear of other culture, fear of, oh, they're doing that. Oh my God. You know, like I said, I come from Sweden, some very sheltered country, and like,
yeah.
but the more, we've been more and more open, and then just take a breath and learn something about it. There's amazing people, and I'm super stoked that we get to tour and be part of the whole world of different cultures and what different people do. It's great, you know. You can learn, like, it's that whole thing of ask for help too. Like, there's so much to learn from everyone, and I mean, the fact that the weird thing here is that we're all Americans, right? And some Americans have different skin color, and you think it's below you. Like, that's pretty weird.
Yeah.
And you know, this is just one of multiple stories of that kind of things happening, and I understand the frustration. And now, when, you know, like I said, I was here going to MI when the Rodney King thing happened, and now seeing the George Floyd and the endless other victims of this situation. Something has to happen, and I think it's far from being solved. And now all these trials start happening for these police guys who are involved in the George Floyd killing, for instance. And who knows what's going to happen? I don't know. I'm definitely worried about it, because people not gonna, if they get away, people not gonna be quiet about it. That's for sure. No, and thank God for videos, and that, you know, how many times does this happen when there's no cameras around? I mean, like, for instance, when Rick was talking about Mavis Staple and all the shit that they had to deal with at that gas station, and his dad, and so horrible. But how many times does this happen when there's just not cameras around?
Well, like in the bar.
Yeah.
What you just said. I can't, I had a guy on the show, Diego Garcia. He's probably the best finger style guitarist I've ever heard. I mean, he's just beautiful. He's originally from Spain, lives in California half the time. And I was so, he's just a he's a guy like you, happy, easygoing, doesn't bother anybody. Man, he posted this thing about a year ago. He was in a bar. He got refused entry into a bar in California, of all places, because he's Latin, he's Spanish. And it was the kind of the same thing. The bartender came, the bouncer, whoever said, no, we don't serve you. I was like,
yeah.
I mean, it's just like a lovely, nice guy just going to get a beer or something,
Yeah. I don't know what the answer is.
I know. How do you even
keep on talking about it? And, the best way is communication and be open about it. And I hear there's a lot of great people on YouTube and stuff who are talking about it and trying to have a normal conversation without being aggressive or anything about how it works. And I mean, the main thing now is probably try to find some leadership in this country that is a little more compassionate and trying to get people together rather than dividing everyone.
Yeah, divide and conquer don't work real well, man.
Yeah.
Hey, well, thank you for that. Talk about Outside In, the quarantine sessions. How did that come about? And you guys are donating money to Suicide Hotline for that. How did that all come together?
Yeah, I can tell you about the music first. It was actually kind of fun because we, as a band of Straight Away, a little more from, the original, kind of rough around the edges, kind of rhythm and blues we started doing, to a little more fine cut. And I had started, before this Corona thing, I told you I was, I booked some shows with my friend who was doing a Beatles Led Zeppelin thing. And I started listening to all these Beatles records again. And there's this Beatles song, I Want You. You know that song.
Yeah, of course.
And I was listening to that song and I was like, God, I want to make a guitar thing like that I could just practice over. And I kind of started messing around with chord progressions and I did the track to Outside In. And I thought it was going to be, it's a really long guitar solo on the song now, but it was even longer originally. And it was more of I liked the changes and I wanted to do something guitar wise. It was probably thought more of an instrumental song. And I wasn't even intending to send it to Ty or any of the band. And I thought, fuck it, I'll send them and see what they say. They're probably going to hate it anyway. And then Ty sent it back. I love it. He was like, I got a melody and lyrics for it. I feel I got an idea already. I get back to you in a couple of hours.
That's so cool.
Oh shit. I was like, oh wow, okay. That's, when you make track, that's what I mainly do is making music tracks, and I work with singers and especially with Ty, like when he gets back to me like that, I know he's excited. Usually if I don't hear anything, I was like, okay, that sucked.
Next.
But yeah, so I was like, wow, really? You liked it that much? And I had done it with a drum machine and, just playing myself, everything. And, but it was that song, and suddenly he got back and he had sang a rough version of it all. And the rest of the guys were like, wow, okay. So Richard was like, okay, send me the track without the drum machine and I'll play some drum. Everything happened so fast. And we had a song done in like 2 days and I just couldn't believe it. I was like, okay, that was easy. So, and then I got on the phone with Ty and when we were talking about his lyrics, I was saying that because he was asking how I'm feeling, because, you know, we haven't seen each other for a long time either when we were making that song. You know, we all been locked up, you know.
You haven't seen him at all?
No, we don't see. I'm in my house, he's in his house, and for a long time it was like basically 100% shutdown here, where for a couple of months we didn't see each other at all, more than FaceTime and all that stuff, right?
That's rough.
So, yeah, of course. I mean, you know, so first of all, the whole song was made in our own home studios. We had to make everything separated, you know. And I talked to Todd about the lyrics, and I was saying, I feel like that you're so locked up and you just want to come out, and you feel this, like you're just forced to be in this cage, you know, of our, and how many people that, I mean, we're fortunate enough to have our families or significant others, but there's a lot of people out there that are on their own and sitting at home, especially if you maybe have some illness where you got to be properly really scared about this virus. And my God, just being at home and just stay there. You didn't even see I mean, I live this is like a condo building, so I have neighbors, and even they were like, everybody was like, I'm not going out there if anyone else is out there, you know what I mean? People were, and I started feeling like we were talking about that feeling being so like, how many people who probably have suicidal tendencies, and we have a lot of friends. I have even family members who committed suicide through, you know, I have, you know, it's been around my family and our friends, a lot of people who are feeling that, who I ended up doing it too. And I felt that was a big part of this, like, lockup situation, that there's going to be a lot of people, and on top of it, financial situations now, and people can't work, and people like getting thrown on the streets, you know, and like,
that is devastating, man.
Yeah, so we
upsetting.
Just wanted to bring it up, and again, there was another song where we could send a message of like, get it, and I want people to think about it, and call up your friends and check on each other. You know, there's a lot of lonely people right now, and you know, I try to do it with my neighbors here even, and like, a lot of people are so afraid to go out. You know, I can go to the store and get you groceries if you want. You know what I mean? Like,
that's nice, man. That's really cool.
Just stay in touch with people, because this is pretty weird, and this is happening all around the world. You know,
it's really weird, and what's weird is, I think the future is on pause. That's the weirdest thing, I think, for people, because, you know, normally you wake up, you know what your day is going to look like. You know what the next day is going to look like. You kind of got a sense. This is all moment by moment. Nobody knows anything. And I think that's a pretty smothering feeling for a lot of people, man. Yeah.
No, and who knows? I mean, especially in our business, I mean, it's kind of like, it's cool for you in a way, you know, and I love that. I mean, the podcast and how many people I started listening to. I just read about Joe Rogan, and what did he sign, like some $200 million?
A lot of money. Yeah. I'm waiting for that offer. I'll take 10% of that.
Yeah. I mean, no, but it's cool what you're doing, and it's keeping people entertained, and the fact that we can do something like this long and have a conversation. And I tell you, I'm listening to your show and I love it, and it entertains me. I'm pretty much hiking up in the mountains every day, and I'm majority listening to you.
After spending this much time, you're probably going to take a break for a week.
Yeah, for a couple of weeks, I got to shut it down. No, it's great, you know, because it's cool to hear people's life stories, and it's cool to hear. Obviously, it's about music, so it feels close to home and what we're doing. And the fact, like, us musicians and our crews and everyone who just, like, I don't know when it's ever going to. I mean, I was listening to some guy from William Morris Agency who was speaking on the radio, saying they don't even know if 2021 is happening.
Man, I read something like that today, that they were saying they are not planning on doing anything till 2022. And I was like, oh my God, this is, this can't, horrible. I certainly hope that doesn't happen.
Well, we got, it comes back to what we originally spoke. You got to just figure it out, and right now I love that I'm on social media every day. I watch all these artists being so awesomely creative. I learned more guitar in the last few months than I learned. I mean, all these amazing, oh my God, I love it. For guitar players, that Tom Bukovac, I don't know if you have seen
Yeah,
those.
I know.
mean,
I know who he is.
What a beautiful guy, and what an awesome soul, and incredible what he gives for free out to all these musicians. It's amazing. He's one of the best guitar teacher I ever heard. His knowledge and his way of playing is incredible. And now we got to, like, we're trying to do the whole streaming shows, and I see that all around the world. People are trying to figure it out. Now we got to figure out, we got to survive, we got to do something, you already start looking around on guitars, like, what can I put out on Craigslist?
I don't really need that one. Yeah. I
guess it's sad, but it's true. I'm not sure, but we gotta figure it out though. And usually in tough times like this, that's when great creative minds.
Yeah, that is it.
Wait,
yeah.
We got it. And I love the fact that we can do this. It's incredible.
And I just want to say about the songs, and I'm not saying this because you're here, both of these songs are amazing. This is the first two songs I listened to by Vintage Trouble, and they're both like 5-star songs. They're really, really good tracks, great stuff. So I would encourage everybody to listen to Vintage Trouble, Not All Right by Me, and then the Outside In Quarantine Sessions, and all the rest of their catalog.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you 3 more questions, man, if you could tolerate it.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me the Swedish food you missed the most. Although you've been here so long, you probably didn't even think about that.
No. Sweden is weird because they especially, like, I don't know if anybody been invited to a Swedish Christmas, because with all the herring, and they have fermented herring and all these weird dried old fish, and I don't miss any of it.
That's funny. It's weird. I'm sitting here thinking, man, that sounds kind of good.
Well, some people really love it.
I eat healthy. You said fish. I'm like, I might like that.
Sweden is a very, very, very old country and has very old traditions when it comes to food. There's, a lot of it is just meat and potato kind of thing, meatballs and boiled potatoes, and it's amazing restaurant culture in Sweden. It's very nice to come to Scandinavia in general, like both Denmark, Norway, and Sweden, like awesome restaurants. The chefs there are world famous, incredible. To the culinary environment there is beyond,
So, but no Swedish food that you miss?
IKEA, the furniture store, like there's IKEA in pretty much every city. They have meatballs. And they actually sell some Swedish food, because there's a hard bread called knäckebröd, which is like rock hard bread that you can break. But you use butter and cheese, and it's really good. And every now and then for Christmas, I go out to IKEA and buy some.
You buy some knäckebröd. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's probably like, it seems like all over Europe is it's sort of bland. Not all over. In the non-Latin country, like, England is like that. My wife, she eats beans and potatoes, baked potatoes and meat,
Yeah.
It's pretty basic like that.
Yeah. But I would say in the last 20 years, like, it just exploded. Like, even in my hometown, Malmo, is you go there a summer day, like the endless amount of 5-star restaurants that serve like food to die for,
Really?
It's amazing. Like, I love how, that's obviously a great way of touring, is to go and amazing food and cultures, and it's great.
What do you like most about yourself?
I like my intuition. I like we were talking about earlier. I wish, I need to come back to listen to it more than I do. I feel like my own universe is pretty strong, and I just need to remember, let down my guard and listen to it more. And because I like myself, I think, I just wish I did it more. You know what I mean? It's that an odd explanation, but what do you like about you? I mean, I tend to have this burst of creativity where I have an idea, and I like that I'm going with it usually. And I want them. Sometimes it takes some time in between before that happens, but I love that I still feel pretty young in my heart, and I'll take it on. Like I said, I'm 52 years old, but I feel like I'm 12 inside. Like I'm ready to go.
I gotta say, if whoever's listening to this and not watching the video, this guy doesn't look anything. I thought he was in his like mid 30s, and then when he was talking, I thought, okay, well maybe he's in his mid 40s. He doesn't look 52, man. I mean, it was. As a marketing guy, there's this famous old ad. When you told me that, I thought of this. It's like, and it's an ad for women's youth cream. And the ad started out, how come Swedish women have such smooth skin? And I said, I wonder if where's the Swedish secret? He's got it, man. When you told me that you were 52, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you two more. Who's had the biggest influence on you? Musically and then maybe personally.
I think my grandpa and my grandma. I mean, my grandma with her music.
Yeah.
She, like I said, I used to lay under her piano, listen to her play concert, classical music. I mean, she was really, really, really good. And to hear that, it was like, I think she opened the door to me for like, just see the endlessness of beautiful music. And I mean, she was kind of like a mom to me for a while. And same with my grandpa, I remember very well.
Her husband? Her husband?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was wanted to be one of those macho guys, very super tanned, and we have like snowy mountains up north in Sweden, and he would disappear there 2 months of the year, just vanish, out in the wilderness and just live there. And okay, and come back just like fucking tanned and all roughed around. And he was like a macho guy. And like, I think I was 10 years old. He'd say, okay, it's time. You coming with me. And I'd take the train up with him to North Sweden and go with him out in this wilderness on skis, on flat, it's like a white desert. It's endless of just mountains, snow, and nothing. And then you would sleep in like little huts and just eat canned food. And I mean, we were there for like a week. And that was like my manhood test, and he was like,
it's time. I'd be like, time. Fuck that, man. It ain't time.
Yeah. And I thought it was pretty cool because he didn't take my brother, I don't know why.
That's weird.
Yeah. And I don't know. He took a liking to me, and I always remember that. And he was a cool guy. I always looked up to him, and he was a special guy to me.
That's cool.
I was scared of him in a way because he was, I always wanted to do good. He was a big sports guy and, big runner and very healthy. And I used to love running when I was a kid. I was a great runner, and I guess he really liked that. And I don't know, I don't really know why, but he was a very fatherly, he was, you know, the macho guy in my life. And but he was also really kind, you know, and I think he could care less about the music, you know, but luckily I have my grandma for that.
That was a very nice story, man. Thank you. That's cool.
Yeah.
You and your granddad did ayahuasca out in the fucking forest there.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, because he was part of the Sweden joined in the Finnish War early. I don't know when that was, 1920s, 10 or something. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on Swedish history, but he was up there joining them. No, so he was gone for a long time. You know, being in war, supporting Finland.
Wow.
And he had a lot of weird. I mean, who knows? He had some lover up there or whatever. He was famous every year, you know. I don't know.
I'm going hunting, honey.
Yeah.
Wink, wink.
Yeah.
Hey, and then tell me, I just want to thank you so much. You're so cool, man. This is a great conversation. I really enjoyed talking with you, man.
You too.
Biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years, and how much of that has been intentional and how much has been deliberate? Excuse me. How much is intentional? How much has been a part of aging? Sorry.
Intentional is probably the sober thing, and trying to just like saying, stop, this shit has to end. You know, like I felt like I was hurting people around me, and not only myself, but people I'm working with and the loved ones in my life. And I didn't want to inflict any pain. So it was important to me to do that. And sobriety was huge for me. As far as getting old, I think just, you know, just be happy, man. Let it go. We're worrying about so much that doesn't mean anything, you know. I mean, the things that we get angry about, that doesn't mean anything, you know. Like, just be good. And that I feel like that's part of being older. I really learned to stop. Just don't, you know. I mean, we have things to worry about in our lives, of course, but it's like things that you can't change.
Let it go.
Oh, let it go, bro. Like, I mean, come on.
I'm with you.
And with that answer, I want to say, a few days ago, you had Kid Ramos on your podcast.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you a funny story, because I thought he had such a beautiful answer to that. And he said, it goes to history, what he said, and you can listen to that if you want to, but obviously you know it. But I want to say, I met him the first time on that last blues cruise we were on, because his son was helping me guitar teching for me.
Oh, and I thought that's cool.
Great. So I turned around on the last show, because he was helping Johnny, his son, guitar tech. So suddenly I have Kid Ramos as my guitar tech. And I thought, I stand there playing the show, and I was thinking, oh my God, I have this legendary fucking blues guitar player helping me, giving me guitars. I thought that was so cool. What a sweet guy.
Yeah.
Both him and his son. Like,
yeah,
awesome
really
guy.
nice guy. He had a good story.
I just say hi because I missed him. I had such a great time with him on that cruise.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
Hey, let me tell people where to find you. And thank you again, man. Really. I never know what an interview is going to go like. And I never assume anything, but I'm always like blown away when, you know, I get just a cool guy like you here. All right. Nalle Colt, Nalle Colt. The band is Vintage Trouble. You could find Nalle on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. What I would also suggest you do is follow Vintage Trouble on Facebook, because these guys are doing streaming shows on a regular basis there. Can I say that you're working on a new record?
Yeah, we are.
They're working on a new record, and it's their 10-year anniversary, so any celebration that they had is kind of preempted, but I'm pretty sure with the energy level these guys have, they're going to be coming out rocking and fighting strong. 80 shows in 100 days. Where can they find that? On Vimeo?
Vimeo, yeah. It's a documentary that we made almost 9 years ago about touring life. It should be pretty fun to see if you're interested.
Yeah, 80 shows in 100 days on Vimeo, or you could probably get it on there in the merch store. If you are a parent or somebody that is impacted by grand mal seizures and you want to reach out to Nalle, do so through social media. Please be respectful of his time. He's not a physician. And it was kind of him to say that and to share any of that. So please just be respectful of that. Also, if you are, we didn't spend a lot of time on this guy's guitar playing, man. He's got great touch and great tone. And it's a really tough job that he has being the lone guitar player. He's got to play great rhythm and great leads, and he serves the song well because he doesn't overstep the bounds on either of those. And if you're interested in connecting with Nalle on lessons, probably go to one of the social media channels, maybe Instagram, and let him know, are you looking to get more into the R&B thing? Do you want some help from him, funk, whatever? But just, shoot him a normal message, not, yo, I want to take lessons. What do you charge? What are you looking for? And why do you, feel a connection with him that he could help you, whatever. Again, just be respectful, do unto others kind of thing. Right. And also if you are looking to want to, Nalle's a great writer. And if you're a lyricist and you're looking to hook up with someone that can do your tracks for you and put melodies together for you, reach out to him on Instagram. He's interested and open to collaborating, but give him some background, like send him some links, so he can make a decision as to whether or not this makes sense. And, at least know how to answer, what you're looking for. Give him the information that you'd want to get if you were in his shoes. And I think that's about it. Anything else?
All good. Thanks everyone for listening and hanging out.
Yeah, man. Thank you for sharing everything. And check out Vintage Trouble when they come to town. These guys are very high energy and they bring it every night. Dude, I feel like I made a friend. Hang on. I'll wrap up with you. And thank you for everything, man. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it on your social media channels. Thanks to Nalle very much for all his time. He's been really cool and very inspirational. A lot of the things he shared, go back and listen to him if you need to. And most important, especially nowadays, man, remember that happiness really is a choice. So choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everyone. I am out. Thank you so much, brother.